Su Xing's flying sword really was too quick. Everyone did not return to their senses. They only saw the dark-faced man scream. Su Xing simply did not have the intent to kill him. The dark-faced man was white from looking at the flying sword next to his brow, but he was also Nebula late stage. Naturally, he certainly would not fear Su Xing, and he defiantly smiled. What is that? A man named Lianxin. If this is not girly, then what is it? Your brain is not broken, is it? What are you called? Su Xing coldly asked. This one beneath you is Zhou Bao. The man said proudly. Oh, could it because you are called Zhou Bao? Are you a beast, then? Too? Su Xing sneered. The stiff face to the extreme Tang Lianxin heard Su Xing's words and could not help smile. That smile truly had the same motions as a beautiful woman's, and Su Xing's heart said this was abnormal. 3. This Tang Lianxin's smile truly was somewhat flirtatious, so it was no wonder that this bunch of men were jealous. Honestly speaking, at this moment, even Su Xing felt that he was a woman. Su Xing was frightened by his own heart's thinking, so he hastily calmed his mind. Zhou Bao was rendered speechless by Su Xing's words, unsightly as he held back. At this time, a Fire Cloud Peak disciple that was with him was resentful. You quickly lower your sword. Do not think you can do as you please just because you are under Juyueka's school. Any way you put it, we are your senior brothers. Quickly lower your flying sword and apologize. All the disciples were Nebula stage, and they relied on their own numbers being greater, also hooting insults at Su Xing as a newcomer. I will never apologize. Su Xing spat. Zhou Bao seized the chance to curse. Brothers, this guy does not pay respects to his elder brothers. Scared stiff by he alone, how could Fire Cloud Peak ever face anyone after this? Fire Cloud Peak's disciples were angry, immediately striking seals. Su Xing snorted. Seeing that several dozen glittering flying swords on the sword storage pavilion, he made a hook with his finger, and the flying swords hung upon the wall lazily shot out as if there was some spiritual influence. The dozen immediately flew towards those disciples. These Fire Cloud Peaks nearly fainted from fright when they saw this. One person controlled several tens of flying swords, yet it was not a powerful sword art. This divine intent was extraordinary. Su Xing's right hand turned, and the backs of the dozen flying swords snapped like a whip at them. The Fire Cloud Peak disciples ran away in a flurry, continuously making pitiful noises. A few disciples wanted to use flying swords, but their divine intents simply were too late as they had been whipped silly. Consequently, an odd play was exhibited outside the sword storage pavilion. Su Xing controlled swords with both hands, the several dozen flying swords dancing wildly without stopping, making these disciples cut sorry figures as they endlessly fled like rats. At this time, the disciples of the other peaks heard the commotion at the sword storage pavilion and crowded around. Seeing Su Xing alone teaching a lesson to 7, 8 cultivators about the same cultivation as him, they were nearly astonished to death. When did the 4 styles sect some out with such an immensely powerful nebula cultivator? Daring to humiliate my Fire Cloud Peak disciples, you are courting death. From the side came quite a delicate cold shout. A burning hot fire broke the air. Su Xing waved his hand, and the dozen flying swords immediately uniformly formed a sword shield that blocked in front of him. Since it was not a sword art, this seemingly gorgeous sword shield was easily broken. The dozen flying swords were jolted all over the place. Using his current divine intent to form this type of sword array was too difficult. The sword shield broke, turning into a pile of scrap iron that completely lacked spiritual powers. However, it also helped Su Xing successfully arrive under this sneak attack. Then, a second whip practically did not stop as it whizzed through the air, the burning noise ear-piercing like a dragon's cry. This whip entirely swept away the leftover flying swords, imposing and overwhelmingly fierce. The one who appeared was a young girl with her black hair in a cloud bun, wearing red soft armor and a red hat. Her figure was slim, exceedingly beautiful. She actually was a beauty, but the angry glare of that pair of eyes more or less destroyed her beauty. You outrageously mad apprentice. Unexpectedly humiliating the Fire Cloud Peak's disciples, die. The young girl was an irascible master. Her hand held a crimson long whip, and the whip's whistle broke the air as it swung towards Su Xing. Su Xing tilted his head, evading the strike, and then he leaned forward and rushed. The young girl's phoenix shoes retreated, the long whip continuously cracking. Recalling it back, the whip immediately formed a defensive appearance, the whip making a whooshing sound. Raging flames burned, appearing like a dragon swimming around the girl's entire body. She wanted to keep Su Xing outside of 3 chi of herself, meaning her martial arts actually were pretty good. Su Xing availed himself to take a step backwards. The girl sneered, her pupils flashing a cold light. Her wrist flipped, and the whip that was making a defensive position ducked to the side, suddenly exerting power as it bit straight at him. The speed was quick, passing in a flash. Crack! A crisp sound in the air. The whip flogged onto Su Xing. The young woman grinned, but she discovered afterward that was nothing more than a false image. Not good. The young woman suddenly felt a cold wind pour into her ear. She stepped backwards continuously, wanting to retrieve the whip, but Su Xing was even faster by a step. One hand grabbed the girl's slender hands, and crossing them, he pinned both of the girl's hands behind her back. Su Xing did not feel gentle towards her, his strength actually very heavy. The young lady was in unbearable pain, the whip falling from her hands. With this, Su Xing had completed locking the girl's arms behind her. The young woman had been fixed into a position that stuck out her alluring chest. Her chest is actually rather impressive. Su Xing was behind her, and looking down from above, he thought this. He did not show mercy when he used the hand capture method he learned from the army. Your toying around is paining this young lady, scoundrel. The young girl's tears were about to fall. Quickly release milady. Damn you. Quickly release her, new guy. Otherwise, we will never be finished with you. The Fire Cloud Peak disciples originally had looked forward to the girl helping them spew their foul air. How could they have guessed that in the blink of an eye, the girl would be contrarily restrained, and her posture made very sensual. The eyes of the disciples watching burned with rage. That hurts? The girl cried. The Fire Cloud Peak disciples promptly halted their attack. Su Xing disdainfully looked at them. His hand moved and picked up that whip. It was made from dragon tendon, its flames clear and crystal, bold and fierce, and very tough. It surprisingly was a nebula magic weapon made from an ancient lost treasure. Su Xing's heart secretly said, "Fuck, this 4-style school deserves to be called the Ancient 9 Dragons Tool Refinement Great School." Whichever of the two he looked at, the Fire Beacon Chariot and this fire whip were both at the peak. More disciples gathered around, and they were dumbstruck looking at this scene. The girl increasingly had the mind to slice and dice the man behind her. She cursed a few times behind her, making Su Xing somewhat increase his strength. The girl knew this would hurt, at once pitifully and endearingly saying, "Quickly release me, do you know who my father is? Your father could be Li Gang, and it would not matter to me." Su Xing disapproved. "What bothers me most is those kinds of high and mighty people, like yourself." "Bastard," the girl cursed. "This junior brother. For the time being, let go of Miss Hongxue. 6. Then we can speak." A disciple wearing the Water Moon Peak's robes said, "You're a man, how can you treat a woman like this? Is he still a man? If you're a man, then you will release Miss Hongxue?" The Fire Cloud Peak disciples immediately agreed upon hearing this, but the disciples of the other peaks actually spoke less. They had an appearance of watching a major drama, especially those male cultivators staring with fixed eyes at the girl's loftily raised breasts. Indeed, they wished Su Xing would not let go. If he could unfasten the buttons before their eyes, that would be even better. What should I care whether or not she is a woman? She isn't my woman anyways. Su Xing sneered. She had tried to kill him, so yielding would be stupid. So it turns out that Tang Lianxin is your woman. No wonder you would act out. Zhou Bao's sarcastic sickness could not help but flare up. Su Xing's wrist moved. The whip whizzed, and a rainbow light broke. Zhou Bao screamed as he covered his face, falling and rolling about where he stood. The male cultivators that were still admiring the girl's chest each drew in a cold breath, trembling in fear. The junior brother before them was very tyrannical. Apologize, or I will take you back to instruct you on how you should apologize. Su Xing spat. You hoodlum. The young girl went limp. Hurry. This young lady could die. Really hurts, Eva, you bastard. The young girl's eyes were moist. Say it more clearly. Su Xing said impatiently. Sorry, you bastard. Are you cursing me, or are you apologizing? Sorry. The girl sobbed spasmodically. Bastard, forget it. Looking at her appearance, Su Xing no longer wanted to make things difficult for her. Afterwards, he raised his chin in indication towards those rebellious Fire Cloud Peak disciples. How could these disciples not understand Su Xing's meaning? To take the miss in their arms, they did not dare approach haphazardly. Moreover, they could not handle the newcomer junior brother before them that was a newborn calf unafraid of the lion, so they could only apologize. The Fire Cloud Peak today has offended you too. We should not have insulted junior brother Tang Lianxin. The disciples of the other 3 styles peaks wanted to laugh when they saw this. When the tyrannical Fire Cloud Peak of the 4 styles school unexpectedly was this choked with resentment, their hearts said the apprentice that Master Uncle Qingshan received was extraordinary. Tang Lianxin continuously stared at Su Xing, which made Su Xing scared from the bottom of his heart, afraid that Tang Lianxin had homosexual tendencies. Until the Fire Cloud Peak loudly apologized, only then did Tang Lianxin turn away, not uttering a word. With an expression like a boulder, he took out the fire beacon chariot. Women should be more gentle. Su Xing whispered in her ear, loosening his hand. Without the slightest hesitation, the girl turned around and kicked. Her beautiful foot was grabbed by Su Xing's hand without the least bit of concern for her. Hoodlum, let go of this young lady. The young girl shouted, red in the face. Su Xing pushed, and the girl staggered, falling flat on her rear where she was. Return this young lady's fire dragon whip. 7. The young girl shouted. Su Xing certainly was not stupid enough to give her something to fight him with. Have that father of yours take it, he said as he boarded the fire beacon chariot, not looking at her at all as he departed. You're a bastard. This young lady, Ruan Hongxue, must thrice announce today's disgrace. The girl shouted. If you do not have the strength, then do not talk so big. From the sky came a disdainful reply, and a very red whip fell down. It was precisely that fire dragon whip. Ruan Hongxue blankly grabbed it in her hands, and the several dozen spectating disciples of the other 3 school immediately spun on their heels, escape lights departing. Wielding a nebula magic weapon and rampaging in the 4 styles school without fear, no one wished to become the target that received Ruan Hongxue's attacks. Mississippi. A Fire Cloud Peak disciple's face was full of resentment. That newcomer is too arrogant. Taking up Master Aunt Yueka's support, unexpectedly, he taunted our Fire Cloud Peak in this way. Miss will definitely make us spew our guts. 9. Zhou Bao covered his thoroughly red face, lamenting. Idiot. Ruan Hongxue raised her cracking whip, swinging it down. The group had been whipped into a panic, scattering and sneaking away like rats. Useless things, this many people could not best one. You have made this young lady lose face. Bastard, you all should die. While she whipped, the girl's eyes burned with a flame, shining with a face completely reflecting a proud, that man is damnable expression. No man had ever dared to make her lose face within the sect. You bastard! Why did you do it like this? On the fire beacon chariot, Tang Lianxin asked. Other people said you were a sissy, and you are actually slightly effeminate. Su Xing creased his brow. Was the Tang Lianxin in front of him a man or not? Even if he had been scolded by a mad dog, there should have been no need to scold back in turn, but whichever way this man was looked at, he had an appearance of indignation. He was at a loss. Tang Lianxin did not mind these kinds of words, but he looked at Su Xing, puzzled. He repeated his question. There was no need for you to go provoke those annoyances for me. We do not have any sort of friendship. Su Xing slumped. This Tang Lianxin indeed was incredibly antisocial. He slightly understood why Ju Yueka so bitterly wanted to change his temper. Master already said we are brothers that are to share our fortunes and misfortunes. Don't give me that sort of icy manner. In any case, we are comrades in arms. You may feel indifferent, but I feel that this is important. Su Xing patted his shoulder, for this was his customary action to show closeness. Tang Lianxin's expression oddly looked at the hand on his shoulder, but he did not say anything more. Then, Tang Lianxin again brought Su Xing around flaming Eastern Island. Reticence and silence were his personality, and there were many places that even he did not know, so in the end, he still came across Protector Yang Yenyu. Only when this open female cultivator acted as a tour guide were things not awkward. The fire beacon chariot arrived at a cape of flaming Eastern Island. Yang Yenyu said, "Ghost Chopping Cape, the Four Style School's most important place." Ghost Chopping Cape? Su Xing felt this name was very strange. Following Yang Yenyu's explanation pointing at the sea, Su Xing then understood. Beyond Ghost Chopping Cape's 10,000 li of sea area was the Falling Cherry Ghost Kingdom. The Falling Cherry Ghost Kingdom was the kingdom of a demonic cult that produced in abundance a kind of devil mask and body techniques that monstrous cultivators were fond of wearing. Thirsting for a kill, they were known as Ghost Martial Cultivators, and they were loathed by the Azure Dragon Territories cultivators. Frequently, there would be Ghost Martial Cultivators that sneaked into the Azure Dragon Territory to commit massacres, and usually when Star Cultivators found out, there often were villages littered with corpses and rivers running with blood. Consequently, Ghost Martial Cultivators were called demons among demons, devils that each and every one of the Azure Dragon Territories cultivators killed. Thus, did the Ghost Chopping Cape receive this name. Again navigating around the villages of flaming Eastern Island, this place's climate was a considerably torrid heat. The earthly fires were too many and ill-suited for wheat and crops. The foodstuffs inside the villages were mostly supplied by the Four-Style School, and the villagers planted large tracts of scarlet monkey fruit, too, and other such spirit fruits to act as remuneration. Su Xing sighed. After bidding farewell to Yang Yenyu, Su Xing and Tang Lianxin then returned to the sect. Just at this time, several escape lights fell before them. Su Xing looked, and the Tsundere, girl he previously chided them to was sure enough not resigned, having called for rescue troops. Master Brother Jiao, he is the one who bullied little sister. Ruan Hongxue pointed at Su Xing, her expression itching to destroy him. Su Xing stared, and the girl again very fearfully retreated. This time, Ruan Hongxue brought more than 20 Fire Cloud Peak disciples with cultivations that were not low in a show of force. Among them was one whose face was smart and bright, with red lips and white teeth. He was an elegant man of approximately 27 or 28 years that made Su Xing feel concern. His forehead was full, his essence qi deep and resounding, divine intent surging. Although he was only galaxy early stage, it seemed he had practiced secret techniques and such. From Yang Yenyu, Su Xing understood what was up with this Tsundere girl. Ruan Hongxue, the daughter of Fire Cloud Peak's first seat, Ruan Hongda. 5. Running amok in the Four Styles School with a nebula magic weapon, the Fire Dragon Whip, every disciple did not dare provoke her. So this man should be the Fire Cloud Peak's chief elder disciple, Jiao Shu. 6. Known as one of the Four Styles School's 4 great disciples, his sword arts were very exceptional. You really are spoiled. 7. Su Xing coldly looked at her. Master Brother Jiao, see how very rampant he is, he insulted little sister like this? Ruan Hongxue said. Jiao Shu was very mild, his lips forming a hook. In an instant, a powerful divine intent immediately spilled over. He used his divine intent to probe Su Xing, who inwardly sneered. He had practiced the 1,000 Machine Gang's great spread divine art and had 5-star generals at his side. Comparing divine sense, he had not yet felt fear, and he released his divine intent. The two formless things were practically visible to the naked eye. In the space between them where no one was at, an impact exploded. A fierce astral wind immediately gusted, scattering in every direction. The atmosphere and air suddenly was violent, and the Fire Cloud Peak disciples on riding swords were endlessly blown over. The Tang Lianxin in the fire beacon chariot was actually nonchalant. This astral tool certainly was not something these divine intents could ravage. Tang Lianxin still was that aloof as he stood to the side, spectating, an appearance that did not want to pay attention. Seeing this situation, everyone was shocked, promptly releasing star energy for protection. Explosions rang out continuously, and layers of strong winds formed a slipstream, suddenly sucking the two into the middle. The two people's silhouettes were instantly indistinct. High in the air, as if there was no form, the two were motionless shadows. Ruan Hongxue was shocked to the extreme, not expecting the Nebula late-stage bastard before her to surprisingly be able to contend against Master Brother. She knew that Senior Brother Jiao fortunately obtained a kind of divine sense refinement secret art, regarded as higher than the rest of the disciples in the entire four-style school. Jiao Shu's expression slightly changed, the robes on his body uplifted. The firelight was fierce, only seeing divine intent become fire, an ignition. Su Xing was unconcerned, slowly increasing his own divine intent. His divine sense was like a vast lake shrouded in mist, covering Jiao Shu. The flames immediately died out, and Jiao Shu could only raise an artifact to protect himself, otherwise, he would probably be knocked down by Su Xing's divine intent. He looked at Su Xing with an expression of unabashed shock. The Fire Cloud Peak disciples thought that when they saw their great senior brother suddenly released his artifact that he was about to act. Immediately, every kind of sword and polearm clattered. Carvings and paintings were thrown out, rays of light leaking everywhere, imposing and scathing. Jiao Shu was too late to stop this. Su Xing also did not anticipate these fire cloud peaks to unexpectedly loot a burning house. They belonged to the same school, and acting without the slightest hesitation, his heart was furious. Su Xing wanted to use the blooming water divine thunder to teach them a lesson. At this time, Tang Lianxin was also finally displeased. He lazily tossed his hand, and a scroll was thrown into the air. That scroll hung in the air. Suddenly, both sides unraveled, then shot out a white mist. This mist wrapped and completely assimilated the artifacts of various ranks that were thrown over into itself. Then, the scroll rolled up and fell into Tang Lianxin's hand. Everyone was dumbstruck. Astral tool? Ah, it's an astral tool. Weapon removal scroll. 9. Jiao Shu was shocked. Su Xing was also astonished. His heart said this Tang Lianxin truly was incredible. He seemed antisocial and harmless, so he did not think that he unexpectedly would even have an astral tool. In addition, this astral tool seemed to be very powerful. More than a dozen artifacts were sucked into it nearly without resistance. However amazing it was, Su Xing still was annoyed by these sneak-attacking disciples. This young lady certainly did not sneak attack you. Ruan Hongshue's heart was shadowy, promptly putting things to order. Impudent. Jiao Shu heavily yelled at every disciple, reprimanding them. Did you want to slaughter your fellow sect members? Who let you act? But we didn't do it for the young miss. All the disciples were confused. Apologies for just now. Jiao Shu apologetically cupped his fist, his expression actually sincere with no sign of falsity. This child, Hongxue, is too tsundere. Precisely as junior brother Su Xing said to the extreme, she has been spoiled and needs someone to discipline her. When I heard someone could chide her, I actually wanted to make friends with him. I must implore that you do not mind the matter that occurred just now. She definitely needs some proper control. However, her being spoiled is something you indulge her in. Su Xing snorted. A junior brother Su Xing truly has hit the mark with those words. Jiao Shu laughed. Senior brother Jiao, what are you saying? Ruang Hongxue thought she had misheard. How could you become friends with him, Hongxue? From now on, you must not act without regard for the rules. You're acting as you please in the four-style school, that is because you have the headmaster at your back and an astral treasure upon your person that you can run amok here. However, if you exit the four-style school, you will pay the price. Jiao Shu lectured her. This young lady does not want to go out. Isn't going out death? Ruan Hongxue twitched her mouth. Jiao Shu shook his head. Thing had suddenly become like this, so Su Xing was slightly surprised by the turn of events. Nevertheless, he happily watched this play. A moment afterwards, Jiao Shu said, the matter just now was somewhat in violation of the rules. Is it possible to return the artifacts that were absorbed to the disciples? Tang Lianxin coldly looked at him, throwing the astral tool, weapon removal scroll. The scroll once again opened, and the artifacts flew out. Everyone looked at Tang Lianxin with lingering fears. Even Jiao Shu was slightly afraid. As expected, Master Aunt Yueka is somewhat insightful. Junior brothers Su Xing and Lianxin are both giants among men. The future four-style school will rely on you two junior brothers. Jiao Shu sincerely spoke. Go to hell. The four-style school does not need to rely on this shameless bastard. Ruan Hongxue angrily stamped her foot. She raised an escape light, not wanting to stay a moment longer. Before leaving, she glared at Su Xing. Su Xing could tell she probably wanted to eat him alive. He chatted with Jiao Shu for a while, finding that he had grown as a refined and smart person, not at all someone who would aid an evildoer as he had imagined. After returning to the mirror's flower stream, passing through the matter that previously occurred, the relationship between the two had been pulled greatly closer. Just as Su Xing prepared to first go to the Void Immortal's abode, at this time, Tang Lianxin took the initiative to call out to him. Su Xing thought this was strange. That charming youth threw a similar thing to Su Xing. With a look, it was a book titled For School's Deep Arts. 11. Su Xing did not understand. Tang Lianxin explained, if you want to learn the four-style school's true tool refinement, this will be of aid to you. Su Xing was curious. Flipping through it, inside were a few of Tang Lianxin's notes, and among them were a few shallow four-styles foundations that made Su Xing very surprised. This four-styles foundations portion was something else. It was precisely the four-style school's four-styles refinement gained through experience. Actually, there was one important reason Wu Xinjie chose the four-style school was that the four-style school's tool refinement was a characteristic that was absolute in the Azure Dragon territory, even in the Great Liang dynasty. They used the four styles of fire, thunder, water, and wind in their refinement technique. Heavenly fire tempering, thunder roll refinement, warm water moistening, divine wind engraving. 12. Every step contained the power of the four styles of heaven and earth. Using this four styles to refine an artifact far surpassed others by a rank, and it could also make the star generals with their essence, chi, spirit, refinement technique to feel this was an admirable refinement technique. However, this kind of four styles refinement was extremely difficult. First of all, for different kinds of powers sees the level of perfection. Moreover, to be able to mutually use them skillfully, to master this four styles needed a very long time. Even if it was the tool refinement scholar Yuxi Qingshan or Juyueka, both had grasped two styles. The former was heavenly fire tempering and thunder roll refinement, while Juyueka was warm water moistening and divine wind engraving. Originally, Su Xing hoped that being able to grasp one refinement style was pretty good. Looking over this four school's deep arts, Su Xing could not help but pleased beyond his expectations. Amazing, amazing, to be able to figure out this method is truly outstanding. Su Xing sat on the rainbow bridge in the immortal's abode, flipping through that for school's deep arts, continuously exclaiming in admiration. Young lord, what is outstanding? Warm and soft jade arms embraced his neck from behind. Wu Xinjie blew air very gently beside his ear. Look. Su Xing gave the book to her. Actually, written inside was not any incomparable art or top-notch soul technique. It only had a few experiences and suppositions pertaining to the four styles of refinement. As everyone knew, the four styles schools, heavenly fire tempering, thunder roll refinement, warm water moistening, divine wind engraving, did not have a match under heaven. However, an overall survey of a millennia did not have any tool refinement masters that could reach this realm. Even the founding master that opened the school did not achieve it. The reason was very simple, and that was because of the four styles' mutual restraint. If he followed the refinement of the four styles, then he would necessarily grasp this four styles. However, the obvious fact that fire and water mutually restrained each other since time immemorial was known by everyone. To let a tool refinement master simultaneously use fire tempering refinement and the warm water moistening simply was impossible to accomplish. If it was not for legends saying that the heaven and earth of the Four Styles sword was refined using the Four Styles, perhaps simply everyone would not believe it. Although the Four Styles school also thought over using other ways to replace it. For example, speaking of Yuchi Qingshan and Juyueka, one person cultivating two types of refinement styles then recomposing afterwards. However, this was not something a tool refinement master could finish in one go, after all. Not only was the result far from ideal, it was so much so that it was even more ruined. Consequently, for 1,000 years, the Four Styles school was close to abandoning the Four Styles refinement. But this Tang Lianxin was truly a tool refinement wizard. Within her notes was an alternate approach. Introducing a set of collecting and nurturing the two styles of fire and water, it was actually very simple. Tang Lianxin conversely used the mutual engenderment theory. The experiences of Tang Lianxin in the Four Styles sect all accumulated the essential components, with the culprit being the mutual engenderment and restraint of wind, thunder, water, and fire. If a cultivator wanted to genuinely refine the Four Styles in the notes of Four Schools' deep art, then the most basic foundation of the 5 elements was important. That was according to the successive mutual engenderment of the Four Styles theory. For this reason, Tang Lianxin added into the Four Styles the forgotten style of earth. Consequently, there was this sort of result: earth birthed water, water birthed thunder, thunder birthed fire, fire birthed wind, and wind birthed earth. This way, cultivators completely could grasp this 5 styles within their bodies, thereby achieving the Four Styles refinement. It was just that this theory also had a major flaw, that was to, first of all, learn the earth style. Earth attribute acting as qi. Using this type to refine divine weapons was nearly an ancient, immemorial, or higher secret technique. It required learning the earth style's difficulties. Not to mention a tool refinement master that had just entered the trade. Even great scholars the likes of Juyueka did not have this kind of cultivation method. If it's like this, young lord, Wuxinjia was exceptionally surprised after looking through its entirety. And I just so happen to have the earth style. Su Xing nodded. His purple star transforming cheech was precisely classified as earth. Originally, it was a chi flame specially used to refine the heavenly spirit earthly fiend 5-element sword, but now, it seemed to flawlessly match Tang Lianxin's 5 styles mutual engenderment. Su Xing had just entered the school, and after learning how earth birthed water, the water category of refinement would be achieved. In an accident, Su Xing was about to become the first within the Azure Dragon territory to master the Four Styles refinement in 1,000 years. This Tang Lianxin truly is incredible. Analyzing clearly and logically, he is just like a great scholar. Wuxinjia looked at the words and felt the owner that wrote this book was diligent and meticulous. It was difficult to imagine this sort of person was a youth that was not even 17 or 18. With this unexpected enlightenment, Su Xing busily considered how he should learn the water style. His current master, Juyueka's heavenly water heart flame, was precisely supreme grade water category. Requesting her to teach him actually was a victory that was close by. When Wu Xinjie saw Su Xing had such a big harvest, she was happy from the bottom of her heart. She suddenly turned, her nephrite, warm fragrance planting onto Su Xing's chest. Both her hands wrapped around his neck like before, her words charming as silk. Young Lord Su Xing, Xinjie has something she wants to say. Her soft body rubbed against Su Xing's inner thigh. It made Su Xing somewhat stir. Lowering his head, he saw the girl's flirtatious mien, her limpid and clear eyes. Say what? Su Xing also seized the chance to put the book down and embraced Wu Xinjie. The two taking this position with the woman on top, too, was a very rare intimacy. Wu Xinjie giggled. She leaned close to Su Xing's ear and whispered, her full chest sticking without any restraint to her man's chest. No way. The pleasured Su Xing heard Wu Xinjie's words, and his lust immediately quelled. He looked at Wu Xinjie in astonishment, instantly shaking his head. How could I relax if you went out alone? Su Xing said. As it turned out, Wu Xinjie unexpectedly wanted to advantage of the time Su Xing was cultivating to return to the Azure Dragon territory. In her hand was a 10,000 spirits notice, and upon it was many of Liangshan's secret places, forbidden zones, labyrinths, tombs, lost traces and such that she carefully recorded. Actually, Wu Xinjie issuing this decision was something she pondered over for a long time. Although she very much loved to stay at Su Xing's side, she also knew that if the future purple star birth outline came, she absolutely could not accept doing nothing. The sisters all had something to do, and she could only be unoccupied. At that time, Wu Xinjie wanted to sign a contract with Su Xing because she felt with their perfect combination, they definitely could walk through the labyrinths under heaven. Some of these were labyrinths and forbid dances opened specifically for the star duels, secret places and historical remains in some place that were in some aspect powerful in their own way. Originally, the Heavenly Calamity Talisman was something Wu Xinjie obtained from inside ancient remains. Her plan was good, but Su Xing nevertheless was unable to be at ease to let her leave even though he knew the knowledge star could take care of herself. Little sister Shi Yuan will also go together with Xinjie. The knowledge star said, with the two of us, a few pitfalls and mazes cannot worry us. Young lord, could it be you still do not believe in us? Xinjie, you know it's not that I don't believe in you, how can I let my woman go take chances? Su Xing disagreed. I know young lord's heart aches for us, but Xinjie is young lord's woman as well as his star general. When Wu Xinjie heard Su Xing's words, her heart sweetened. She almost just wanted to stay like this, but the knowledge star knew the star duels were not flirtatious banter, not a problem that tender honey intent could settle. Under Wu Xinjie's soft persuasion, Su Xing gradually was not a match, but a labyrinth's dangers heavily gave him a difficult choice. How about this? At the time Yuaner and I break open a labyrinth, if we cannot accomplish it, then Xinjie can only obediently stay at young lord's side. All right. Su Xing compromised. The knowledge star, after all, was ranked third. Making her do nothing at all was impossible. Thank you, young lord. Wu Xinjie said sweetly, suddenly exploiting the opportunity to passionately plant her lips onto Su Xing's in a deep kiss. The two's lips sucked at each other, kissing to the limit of sweethearts under heaven. Su Xing's suppressed lust again could not help but surge. Both his hands gently stroked from Wu Xinjie's back downwards, grabbing the girl's two soft lumps, his 10 fingers unable to refrain from kneading them. Wu Xinjie panted deeply from Su Xing's pair of evil-doing hands, and she immediately felt a hard object press against her butt. Young lord. Their kiss finished, Wu Xinjie's coquettish glances were like silk, pink with a lustful fragrance. You're always like this, so be careful that someday I will brutally finish you off, Xinjie. Su Xing pinched her soft flesh. Wu Xinjie bit her lower lip, groaning. If young lord wants Xinjie, then take me. How could I do something that would hurt you? Su Xing also knew to endure under his enormous lust. As far as star generals were concerned, the price of losing her virginity was not small. First of all, she would lose her Yuan Yin, 3, and the star maiden would lose the star nest coexistence between her and her contractor. Secondly was the response to one another. Finally, her pure Yin would leak, and her star energy would greatly decrease, her vitality greatly harmed. The star general would also sink into a very long period of poor health. It was not as if there were not any benefits. Reportedly, it could replenish magic losing one's virginity. This, for now at least, was a matter where the gains did not make up the losses. Hearing Wu Xinjie say as such, Su Xing's heart could not help but somewhat receive no small measure of emotional disturbance. After the evil smiting hall phase, Xinjie will then give young Lord Xinjie's virgin body. Wu Xinjie softly said. The two kissed even more passionately. The other sisters in the immortal's abode had been staring straight at the two's sentimentality in broad daylight. And Suwen turned her face away, pretending she saw nothing, whereas Shi Yuan could not take her eyes away. Lin Yingmei was silent, and Yan Yizhen's face was expressionless, her eyes exposing continuous surprise. This deep love of the knowledge star actually made Yan Yizhen feel extreme surprise. The two apparently were somewhat passionate to the depths of the abyss. Shi Yuan watched with wide eyes as Su Xing's hand slid from Wu Xinjie's back into that skirt of hers, and his other hand stretched in from the clothes that were parted away. His hand could not help but slip into the anticipated obstruction, entering a warm place. Wu Xinjia's slender legs tightened. Cough, cough. Shi Yuan was choked by this passion. Only with this did Wu Xinjia recall there were little sisters here. She immediately bashfully blushed as she buried her face into Su Xing's chest. Su Xing chuckled, drawing out his hands from within her clothes. Elder sister Yingmei, elder sister Yizhen, Suwen has found you two are completely able to spar against each other for training. And Suwen gently said, tactfully distracting everyone from this awkward mood. The efficacious star's unintentional words actually made Su Xing, Wu Xinjie and the rest's eyes light up. 5. The sparring between the majestic star and the skillful star actually was practicable. Lin Yingmei looked at Yan Yizhen. The indifferent maid then turned her gaze to Su Xing. As you wish, but don't be too overboard. Su Xing said. Between the majestic star and the skillful star were a top-quality spear technique and a #1 boxing. It was unknown what kind of spark this would give rise to. Yan Yizhen nodded. Lin Yingmei and Yan Yizhen then stood at two ends, a distance of 100 paces. Lin Yingmei's hands were empty for a moment, and then the Arctic Star Serpent Spear was immediately in hand. Yan Yizhen clenched both her hands and tightened her body. A snow-white thigh stepped out from the fork of her skirt, assuming an attack posture, and the yin-yang Pisces fists appeared. Elder sister Ying, pardon me. This one beneath you shall accompany you. Yan Yizhen's foot stepped, and in a split second, she was like the arrow loosed from the bowstring. They only saw the airflow break with a boom. The power of this fist was fierce without rival. Lin Yingmei at the same time skillfully dodged. When she swayed, she incited the Arctic Star Spear to welcome it. Two fists repeatedly boomed. Lin Yingmei flung the cold wind on the spear tip, still breaking open Yan Yizhen's boxing power. Then, with a sudden thrust, the spear was like a lightning bolt, penetrating Yan Yizhen's defenses. The girl's body was knocked onto its back. With a flip, she fell several dozens of meters away. Hey! Yan Yizhen immediately rushed, her figure arriving in a blink. The sound of the air ripping apart suddenly magnified, as if it was something created from nothing. Under Yan Qing's increasingly severe boxing, the air seemed to have been torn into pointy sword qi. Several dozen sword qi suddenly filled the space surrounding Lin Ying. In the next moment, the sword qi abruptly spun, already swiftly and fiercely cutting. It was just like Lin Yingmei was placed in the center of a grinding machine. The air broke into pieces in an instant. Lin Yingmei's spear unleashed an ice-soul-cold light that immediately blocked this seemingly fierce tip qi. Those indifferent red pupils immediately arrived in front of her. The cold ice of the left fist and the warm flame of the right fist became yin and yang. When the Pisces circulated, the maid's genuine attack was achieved in one step. Clang clang. The spear shaft blocked the two fists, but the strength on the fists was like a bursting flood, pouring down in torrents. Lin Yingmei's figure immediately slid backwards almost 100 steps. Her figure leapt, and Yan Qing's two fists connected. The yin-yang Pisces burst out and shot towards Lin Yingmei, nearly not giving the majestic star any chance to gasp for breath. During the time Lin Yingmei waved her spear to cut down this bursting light, the skillful star's figure was vigorous, flying like a swallow and attacking. She spun to Lin Yingmei's front in an instant, the power of the spurt of energy like a tiger. It was the watching Su Xing could not help but feel worried for Lin Ying. The strength of the emotionless maid's attack was indeed suffocating. From the start, her boxing was continuously linked, pressing hard step by step. In the moment she opened wide and closed was great skill and power. Her usual opponents simply did not have time to react. Su Xing thought, the star generals are abnormal. If it was he who fought with Yan Qing, such a powerful boxing closing in on him would be a disaster. Right now, Su Xing actually also inherited Yan Qing's boxing arts. It was truly contrived, and it really did not completely lack resistance. What kind of person was the majestic star panther head? Lin Yingmei's eyes were serious as she confronted the rushing Yan Qing's sluggishness in the air without fluster. Her nimble body beautifully shifted forwards, evading Yan Qing's fist. The majestic star slashed at the skillful star's back, then cut Yan Qing down to the ground. "This one beneath you is much obliged." The panther head coldly shouted. "Disappear, appear." Like the sound of thunder, it swept downwards. A frigid brilliance seemingly tore open an empty space. Too fast. Su Xing and the rest could only feel the sight before them become dazzling. Yan Yizhen retreated backwards, and Lin Yingmei overtook her in an upsurge with an assault that was just like a blizzard. Not hesitating in the slightest, Yan Yizhen's figure suddenly leapt out. In the next moment, she already arrived inside the brutal attack, but when she entered, those apathetic eyes finally showed a trace of astonishment. She discovered Lin Yingmei's Arctic Star Spear technique could be rated as extremely perfect, and the penetrating cold that came from all directions made her greatly surprised. The discharge from the spear's tip pressed in from everywhere, making it difficult for Yan Yizhen to stay out of the way no matter how she tried. In the next attack, Lin Yingmei and the spear in her hand together shot towards her opponent. The sound of the air ripping apart with the hum of bees poured into Su Xing and the others' ears. The icy blue light suddenly flashed and extinguished. This vertical slash was swift beyond imagination, and by the time Yan Yizhen felt this was not too encouraging, the spear tip already arrived in front of her. Yan Yizhen's complexion tightened. Her knees bent, and her fists joined. The slashing cold spear stiffly stopped before her eyes. The cold tip on the spear ripped apart several hairs of the girl's neat and orderly bangs. Empty hands beat the naked sword. "2, little sister, you have creativity." Lin Yingmei had difficulty giving praise, lowering her wrist. As far as the majestic star was concerned, this kind of empty hands beating the naked sword was far from enough. The Arctic Star Serpent Spear's power fiercely pressed down. The next moment, that clever body technique of the skillful star showed a scene that made Su Xing and the others astonished. They saw the maid's body lean left, leaning towards her empty side in a half-spin, a clever escape. She stepped directly on Lin Yingmei's spear, which could be said to be stunning beyond compare. The wanderer Yan Qing stepped on the spear, which Lin Yingmei raised. The skillful star seized the chance to directly stick herself into the clouds. At the same time, a long and resounding harsh whistling sounded. Furthermore, it rapidly dispersed into the surroundings. She passed a distance of several tens of meters in the blink of an eye. The speed of a white steed flitting past a crack was merely so. In the instant Lin Yingmei lifted her head, Yan Qing was just like a heroic fighter. She attacked to her front, both fists repeatedly unleashed. Astonishingly, it was yellow rank boxing. Swallow flash samsara. Lin Yingmei did not shrink back. Turning her spear sideways, the blizzard continuously revolved in the surroundings. It was long blizzard nights. Each instant the two powerful heavenly star generals intersected was deadly. The shape of the area surrounded by weapon and fist rapidly fluctuated. Occasionally, spear light warped, and occasionally, shadowy fists crossed. Along with the gradual dimming of the star crest on their bodies, at this time, Su Xing, Wu Xinjie, and Suan and Shi Yuan all did not dare breathe for fear that they would miss all the details. For every place the Arctic Star Serpent Spear's tip swept past, not only was the barely pervasive cold frost even more thick, even the void seemed to have been clogged. The white-hot weapon brought with it a cold wind, seemingly a formless sickle that slashed towards the opposing Yan Yizhen. Even if it was a swift and nimble figure, it could not hide from layers upon layers of a tidal offensive. Lin Yingmei's sudden all-out attack nearly could be said to have no gaps at all. In a split second, Yan Yizhen used the profound steps of the 8 trigrams to avoid that spear's entire attack. Taking advantage of the moment Lin Yingmei stabbed empty space, she flashed to the side of her counterpart's attack, the shadow of her fist unwrapped like a ribbon. However, she was too late in enjoying knocking down the person in front of her when Lin Yingmei's spear tips swept over. This kind of restabilization speed was exceptionally quick. Following the weapon's rapid rotation, the ice-cold spear point drew a straight line that did not run through anything, and it changed into countless circles. The intertwining curves blocked the lights that splashed out from Yan Yizhen's hand. The crisp sounds of the intersections of the Arctic Star Spear and Yin-Yang Pisces fists was continuous and unending. There were no gaps or room to turn around. The corner of Lin Yingmei's mouth involuntarily curved while excitement flit across Yan Yizhen's eyes, the two actions bringing out the best in each other. Lin Yingmei contrarily raised a red light against the fist light that dropped from the sky. Countless snowy gusts splashed the moment the weapon collided. The staggered two people once again sunk into a winding battle. The two people in their high-speed mobile warfare sunk into an intense battle, and the entire Immortals abode saw countless shadowy movements. Seemingly continuous time could not keep up with the pace of the two. It was just like they already approached the 10,000 techniques realm. Skillful star Yan Yizhen's boxing was indeed clever to the peak, but for the battle, in the end, it was the Liangshan Maidens' majestic star Lin Yingmei of the Five Tigers general who was even more victorious. When the Arctic star serpent spear pressed against Yan Yizhen's throat, it ended this bout, having let Su Xing feast his eyes on this battle of heavenly stars. And this fighting team did not fail to bring gains to Su Xing. His ocean of consciousness had an even more outstanding understanding towards the fighting style of the majestic star and skillful star. For the future time he would stay at the Mirror's Flower Stream, Su Xing and the five beauties each had their respective assignments. From the hope of that four styles he found out from Tang Lianxin, Su Xing began to exert himself on tool refinement and gain some achievement. He strove for the fastest time to settle that aging but beautiful master of his in order to learn the water category refinement technique. As long as he had a few of Wu Tai's notes, Su Xing was not a rookie in the field of tool refinement. He easily passed the most basic test that took place 3 days later. Just at the time Su Xing began to diligently hide his cultivation tool, those outside Mirror's Flower Stream circulated his famous name everywhere. He had not been at the four-style school for a day, when he controlled more than a dozen flying swords to defeat 10 cultivators at the same stage as he. Furthermore, he made the Ruan Hongxue who possessed a nebula magic weapon forced to be humble. Finally, he competed fiercely against the Jiao Shu of the four-style school's 4 great disciples in divine intent, effortlessly defeating him. Su Xing had only come for several days, yet everything that happened caused a sensation in all of the school. It was just like he had become the celebrity that the four-style school chatted about, where even the headmaster was giddy over him. On this night, Su Xing lay face down on the bed, snoring loudly. Suddenly, he felt his arm tighten. Opening his eyes to look, he did not know how, but Tang Lianxin's arms had hugged him. This child actually was very pretty. Su Xing looked over Tang Lianxin's sleeping posture, and it actually had that bit of a petite and exquisite flower fragrance, vermilion cherries with a trace of a taste of intimacy. Su Xing shivered. He had 5 women, so how could he have the intent to be intimate with Tang Lianxin? Could it be possible he had received his feminizing effect? Su Xing pulled out his hand, and right at this time, the star crest on his forehead flashed. He sensed Shi Yuan was calling him, so Su Xing then put on his clothes and very carefully went out the door. Outside the door, Su Xing spotted Wu Xinjie and the others. The moonlight of Mirror's Flower Stream was shattered to pieces. Within the hazy image, the 5 girls under the moonlight resembled a dreamy fantasy. Each pair of those beautiful pupils flowed with a distinct emotion, but when they saw Su Xing appear, they each simultaneously and spontaneously showed caring and happy expressions. "What's the matter? This late?" Su Xing yawned. Tomorrow, he was to prepare to go to the tool refinement mission Juyueka arranged. "Young lord, do you still remember your agreement with Xinjie?" Wu Xinjie's smiling face was like a flower. "Xinjie, do you really still want to go to the outside to look for ancient ruins?" Su Xing knit his brow. "But of course. Young lord currently is about to be galaxy stage, yet you do not have any sword arts to use. Xinjie knows several ruins have left behind sword arts." Wu Xinjie earnestly replied. "Actually, we can go together." Su Xing blurted, but he knew it was futile. Wu Xinjie certainly would make him fight for time to cultivate in the Void Immortal's abode and pursue tool refinement. The eve of the start of the Purple Star birth outline was a pivotal point where time could not be wasted. Su Xing then said, "All right then. If Xinjie insists, I won't oppose, but Xinjie wants to make young lord feel relief, right?" Wu Xinjie pursed her lips. Su Xing nodded. "Sister Xinjie has already found a labyrinth." Tonight we called young lord to go take a look. Shi Yuan said, pleased with herself. It seemed that finding the labyrinth was her contribution. This island also has a labyrinth on it? Su Xing did not expect Wu Xinjie really could find one. Wrong, it's not on the island. Rather, it's this sect. Shi Yuan corrected. Four Style School's rear mountain. This topography stood out from the rest, and the representative four styles of wind, thunder, water, and fire were boundlessly carved over the entire mountain. Vividly portrayed, this mountain was an independent existence. Following a stone bridge connection, the surroundings were a 10,000-fathom chasm. The only thing visible was an oil lamp, layer upon layer of yin qi. Past this stone bridge was a spacious plaza. Several dozen statues reaching 4 or 5 meters were placed on both ends of the entrance in succession. Some grasped swords, some were kindly, some were heavily murderous, and some trembled with an immortal's qi. Su Xing could even call out the names of these stone statues. Founding Master, the Taoist Master Qiankuan. 3. Second-generation Headmaster, the Taoist Master Qiantian. Third-generation Headmaster. Su Xing was more and more amazed. This was exactly the Four Style School's forbidden zone. Qiankuan Tomb. 5. Su Xing had been at the Four Style School for not more than 10 days. He did not understand much about the Qiankuan Tomb, but he nevertheless knew the sole restricted area of the Four Style School was this place. Buried here were the successive generations of the Four Style School's headmasters and elders. Again, owing to the fact that the Four Style School was a tool refinement grade school, the mausoleum was bound to have refined many mechanisms. Reportedly, only the headmaster could know the maze while the average person would enter inevitable death. To Wu Xinjie, however, this tomb could only count as something to prove herself. In addition, there was another very important reason why the Knowledge Star chose the Qiankuan Tomb, and that concerned a legend of the Four Style School's founding master, the Taoist Master Qiankuan. This Qiankuan Tomb reportedly was established in the old days when the Taoist Master Qiankuan used his power and died sitting up. Afterwards, the later generations of headmasters and elders would enter this tomb at the time of their death. Every cultivator that entered this tomb would use their powers inside to lay down a mechanism. Therefore, this tomb snowballed into something increasingly large, increasingly complex. But what was slightly strange was that, from the very beginning, the tomb of the Taoist Master Qiankuan could not be found in the Qiankuan Tomb. The legends about him were many. With abilities as powerful as his, the mausoleum mechanisms would be countless, that other people simply could not find it. Furthermore, before the Taoist Master Qiankuan died sitting, he suddenly obtained the immortal fruit and ascended to immortal status. Or perhaps he went free and unfettered. In a word, there were all kinds of fantastic theories. You want to find the Taoist Master Qiankuan's grave? Su Xing asked, surprised. This way can let young lord be at ease, right? Wu Xinjie was fully self-confident. And Su Wen, on the contrary, was somewhat anxious. But is it not unfindable? Maybe there really isn't one? No. There definitely is one. He merely used some kind of ingenious mechanism to hide it. Wu Xinjie giggled. The reason why she was this certain was because the Four Style School's sect protecting treasure Four Styles Qiankuan sword. Originally, the Taoist Master Qiankuan exactly used this divine sword that made him famous to cut out his own grave, so there was no way it was not here. Let's go in and take a look. Su Xing knew he was unable to persuade Wu Xinjie. Young lord, just for this time, please do not act. Wu Xinjie smiled. Su Xing nodded. Standing before the tomb and gazing past the plaza, they saw the towering door was simple and unadorned, a long and expansive divine path trailing from the south to the north in a straight direction. The stone persons and beasts on each end were formidable and solemn. Shi Yuan loathed tombs and such because the yin qi inside was too heavy, nourishing too many ghosts and yin beasts. And something like the Four Styles Great School's Qiankuan Tomb perhaps was even more complex. However, Shi and Wu Xinjie thought the same, and they also wanted to help Su Xing settle a burden. Despite the worry on their faces, they were still determined. When Su Xing saw this, he could not help but smile. Entering the Qiankuan Tomb's interior, The inside was continuously alight with longevity lanterns. It seemed that not only was the inside not black, it was contrarily relatively brightly lit. These longevity palace lanterns were without odor or flicker. Reportedly, if a particular type of demon beast's oil was taken from the 10,000 li of seabed, it could burn for 1,000 years without going out. For this reason, it was called the 1,000-year lamp, and it could be seen how imposing the Four Styles school previously was. The interior's first and foremost was a wide main hall. The main hall's floor had an embark drawing, with 8 channels each with 8 sliding doors. The doors' structures had nothing in common with each other. Some had engraved railings and painted ridgepoles with golden jade embellishments. Some had vermilion red liang wood, which emitted a delicate fragrance. Some had penetrating white jade and some even were ordinary. It was unknown whether the successive generations of cultivators that entered this tomb all were fond of high-ranking decorations or something. The tomb's walled-in path was extremely deep. How many ancestors are buried here? Su Xing thought of this offense. He watched for how Wu Xinjie would go seek out the Taoist master Qingkuan's grave. If she searched alone, perhaps she would not even find daybreak. The knowledge star's brow wrinkled. She took out an ancient book, flipped through some pages and then spun several circles in the hall. Everyone idly sat to the side with nothing to do. Su Xing was surreptitiously paying close attention, feeling the Bagua diagram below their feet should have some sort of hint. However, searching for this after a long while made him somewhat dizzy. He really was not good at this type of classical riddle situation. Sister Xinjie, why are we staying here? Aren't we going in to look? From what I see, this pathway lined with jade is pretty good. Shi Yuan looked left and right. Her attention had been attracted by a tunnel completely lined with jade. That over there is useless. It does not have the Taoist master Qingkuan's grave, for his tomb's concealment should be even more clever. Wu Xinjie said. But staying here is also useless, Shi Yuan said. The knowledge star smiled but did not speak. Approximately an oil lamp later, after the knowledge star inspected the 8 tunnels, she finally nodded. Honestly speaking, Su Xing also could not make out what the trick was. The only thing he could discern was that the hall's Bagua diagram and the 8 tunnels were somewhat related. It was just that he was not too clear on what the significance was of this type of concealed relationship. Just as he thought this, Wu Xinjie said, "This tomb concealment is indeed ingenious. Young lord, I have inspected it." Wu Xinjie turned her head and winked. Su Xing smiled, actually quite looking forward to what discoveries she made. He saw Wu Xinjie stand on the Bagua drawing. She meditated briefly, then twirled her hands in the orchid seals. The relief sculpture on the Bagua drawing immediately came alive with changes. Some level and even places gave rise to recesses while some recesses were then filled in. Su Xing vaguely saw a bit of a clue but was still somewhat unclear. After all, this thing that was the Bagua was not something he had a deep understanding of. And Su Wen, on the other hand, cried out in surprise. So it turned out to be this. Elder Sister Knowledge Star truly has discerning eyes. Everyone asked her what had happened. Just as Su Wen was about to respond, Wu Xinjie said, "Young lord, little sisters, come enter quickly." The group then walked onto the yin-yang diagram. After Wu Xinjie changed the final trigram, an inconceivable thing happened. When the yin-yang symbol in the center of the Bagua changed, it moved left and right, and the entire yin-yang symbol immediately caved inward. How did you figure this mechanism out? Su Xing asked in admiration. What profound theory does that Bagua have? That Bagua seems ordinary at first glance, but its positions are actually incorrectly arranged. Wu Xinjie explained. As it turned out, when they first entered the main hall, Wu Xinjie saw the profound theory of the Bagua picture. As a result, in order to solve the concealed contents, did they stop over at the hall. Brute force did not trump those that used their heads, and this actually let her discover a place that stood out from the rest. Stood out from the rest? Everyone was startled because they completely were unable to make out anything that stood out. The 8 doors use different materials in their construction, but each type of material actually represents one type of the 8 trigrams properties. For example, the splendid gold jade's representative gold wood category is for Qian and Dui. 3. Liang wood naturally represents wood, Zhen and Sun. What lacked any decorations was earth, Kuan and Zhen. As far as water and fire, that was harder to guess. Water's aspect was a white jade carving of a type of water flower, and the fire door had an extra longevity lamp. These seemingly were insignificant, but in the knowledge star's eyes, they immediately turned into a complete Bagua diagram. But this still did not count as anything. Even more awesome was that Wu Xinjie noticed the main arrangement of the Bagua on the main hall's floor. If the Bagua doors were looked at from the arrangement of the Bagua, that main hall clearly did not adhere to the rules. This was the abnormality. As far as Wu Xinjie was concerned, this was the mechanism. What came after was very simple. She only needed to change the hall's Bagua to that arrangement of the Bagua doors, but she did not expect this mechanism would actually open. After hearing Wu Xinjie's explanation, everyone truly prostrated themselves in admiration. Without first mentioning the level of genius in the arrangement of this Bagua mechanism, the Bagua diagram on the hall's floor were very familiar. Without outstanding insight, how could anyone spot whatever was incorrect? Only Wu Xinjie could achieve this without difficulty. No wonder those cultivators couldn't find it. If anyone arranged for their tomb to be beneath the mausoleum, who could think of that? Su Xing sighed. The girls deeply believed this was so. If it was not for the knowledge star's exceeding insight and scholarship, the four-style school would have difficulty thinking of this even if given 1,000 years. Is there really another tomb down below? Shi Yuan was anxious. Be careful, Su Xing said, holding her hand to comfort the thief star. Very quickly, they fell to the bottom, and sure enough, there was a completely different world below. When Su Xing and the rest stepped off the yin-yang picture, it slowly rose and sealed the exit. The underground cavern was dim beyond compare. Su Xing lit a Taoist light talisman. The light talisman shone. Deng deng deng. 6. They saw a more than 100-square-meter hall. The longevity lanterns long ago had went out, but the surrounding walls' brilliance clearly were meticulously filled in by people. There was a large door. This young lady will go see if there are any mechanisms. Shi Yuan jumped down. Having received Su Xing's encouragement, she had a lot of courage. The thief star's body techniques hid, and she secretly entered the air. Ah! In an instant, they heard Shi Yuan shriek. Su Xing's heart tightened, and he immediately rushed over. How could he expect Shi Yuan would right away run out from that door, all of a sudden throwing herself into Su Xing's chest? Yuaner, what is the matter? Wu Xinjie said. Rustling. They saw a dark red centipede 10 times the normal size climb out. With sharp saw teeth, 1 meter in length, that 100 feet of pitch black and complete red was exceedingly terrifying. Ah, it's a 100-corpse centipede. 7, Wu Xinjie shouted. Su Xing had not yet figured out what the 100-corpse centipede was that it deserved Wu Xinjie's fear when in the next second, that 100-corpse centipede promptly displayed its terrifying side. The 100-corpse centipede's 100 feet trembled, and thousands upon hundreds of small centipedes the length of fingers shot out like rain. The 100-corpse centipede was categorized as a type of ancient demon insect. It lived beneath the ground, feeding on rocks and earth, using yin qi as nutrition. It could easily breach any cave, and its body reportedly had millions of larvae. With a tremble of its 100 feet, it got its name from the seeming torrential downpour. In the event these centipedes made contact, they would immediately drill into a person's skin and eat them clean. In addition, this 100-corpse centipede had been nourished by yin qi. Its attacks were specialized nasty artifacts and cultivation methods. Usual methods would have difficulty protecting against these. Also, owing to the fact they were underground, their attacks would be even more frightening. However, with regards to Su Xing, these were not things to be scared of at all. His hand shook, about to use the blooming water divine thunder to cleanly smite them. Big brother, allow little sister. And Suwen abruptly said. Lin Yingmei, Yanizhan and the rest halted their attacks. They saw An Suwen beckon with her finger, and more than 60 jade lights flashed. They rolled in their surroundings, forming an essence chi defense. Those small centipedes of the 100-corpse centipede were incapable of penetrating it, blocking them with a pitter-patter. What formed the defensive barrier was not just anything, it was precisely the ancient monsters, essence-swallowing dragons. Compared to the essence-swallowing dragons, the 100-corpse centipede symbol was not on the same level. Devour! And Suwen angrily said. The essence-swallowing dragons suddenly parted. Just like crashing storm winds, they engulfed their way over. The spawn of the 100-corpse centipede that covered filled the overhead were instantly eaten clean. Once they were eaten, several essence-swallowing dragons unexpectedly divided and propagated. The ancient Chi, the 100-corpse centipede stored underground, actually was a top-notch delicious snack for the essence-swallowing dragons. Compared to using every kind of suppressing evil gem bamboo ranked spirit chi from before to cultivate them, this speed was far faster. It was like discovering a treasure, so the essence-swallowing dragons ate even more cheerfully. More and more 100-corpse centipedes crawled out. Very quickly, the 100 square meters hall was crammed with the centipedes' disgusting corpses. They formed a dense mass which would make the blood of people run cold upon looking at it. How could there be this many? Shi Yuan had goosebumps. If this place really is the Taoist Master Qingkuan's tomb, then at the very least, it has been more than 1,000 years since then. Su Xing said. Thinking about it was enough to make him shiver. A tomb that was hidden for 1,000 years had been opened, and they did not know how many bugs or animals were nourished. If it was not for Suwen with the essence-swallowing dragon's mutual restraint, perhaps this trip to the tomb would indeed be hard to say. Everyone kept close against Suwen's back while the efficacious star's white hand beckoned. The cyan storm was unstoppable as it swept through the black centipedes. Fortunately, the essence-swallowing dragons was the nemesis of the 100-corpse centipedes. For the same category of ancient period demon bugs, the 100-corpse centipedes, that Chi that was stored for 1,000 years was simply a delicacy. It was as if a hurricane of green shadows flowed out like quicksilver, making these 100-corpse centipedes basically unable to have a position to use their powers. For the sake of preventing these 100-corpse centipedes from seizing a chance to flee, Su Xing also unceremoniously used the 5 spirits blooming water immortals technique. His fingers released purple thunder talons that pinned all of them. Approximately several oil lamps later, the hall's black waves finally receded. And at this time, the essence-swallowing dragons increasingly expanded, just as if they already had more than 200 in number. Their movements already vaguely had the power of a dragon of legend, and using them right now, they were sufficient to be used for battle. Among them were several whose figures were brightly lit like green jade, with the hidden form of 2 wings. Clearly, there was a trend in rank advancement. Everyone was astonished. They did not expect the tomb Wu Xinjie inadvertently opened would unexpectedly bring such a large benefit. Suwen also had unending admiration in the excitement in her eyes. She had cultivated the essence-swallowing dragons for so long, and now, they at long last could lend Big Brother a helping hand. Let's go in and take a look. Su Xing was all the more curious as he walked into that sliding door. Inside was another expansive main hall. He saw upon the cattail platform was a pale white skeleton, its 2 hands frozen in a hand seal. It sat upright, its body draped in a Qingkuan bagua robe. Everyone immediately increased their pace. They only saw an illusory bagua array pictograph suddenly appear before their eyes. This place has a bagua terror-inflicting array. Shi Yuan said in an alarmed voice. She had not finished speaking when the hall's scenery suddenly changed. A vast expanse of white smoke abruptly billowed and covered all directions in a confusion. Lin Yingmei promptly took out the Arctic Star Serpent Spear, and Yan Yizhen also tightly clenched her Yin-Yang Pisces fists. Su Xing asked, "What does this bagua terror-inflicting array do?" It releases 8 types of defensive jinns. As long as these 8 types of jinns are struck into the corresponding position they represent, they will disappear. Wu Xinjie took the place of Shi Yuan's reply. Right, however, this kind of bagua terror-inflicting array is generally used to test people. Why would it be arranged in a tomb? Tombs at the very least should be using that kind of fiend array. Shi Yuan was confused. It's just kill to break the array. What is hard about this? Lin Yingmei's voice was cold. The 8 Bagua Jins successively appeared from within the fog. Their hands held maces, swords, sabers, hatchets and every sort of sharp weapon. Draped in golden mail, they were like divine warriors. Lin Yingmei attacked her way into 3 Bagua Jins without the slightest hesitation. Carrying her spear, her thrust was a startling rainbow, piercing sun. 3. She stabbed the Bagua Jin that bore the brunt backwards more than 10 paces while the other 2 Jins raised their hammer and hatchet, rushing to sweep at Lin Yingmei. The Arctic Star Serpent spear lowered, and Lin Yingmei exerted her strength to leap above the Jins. She turned, and her spear's power heavily slashed down. She hacked a Bagua Jin down onto the ground, and in midair, she relied on the snow-winged belly band to loftily drop like a swallow. Gracefully, she evaded the other Jin's chops. The one representing the Ngli of fire opened its parasol, and flames gushed out, burning at the group. Su Xing shouted, both hands fiercely launching a blooming water divine thunder. The divine thunder purple cloud encircled and blocked the intensity of the fire. The ones that represented the Jin, 5, of thunder and the Dui, 6, of lake each struck with their sword and saber. Several threatening thunderclaps or black water marshes swept over. The indifferent Yan Yizhen's fists pushed with open palms, removing the clap of thunder. The corners of the maid's skirt fluttered, and the crimson tattoo on her snow-white back glittered. In the midst of her rocking, she jumped above the black water, attacking. Then, 7, of water let out severe floods and fierce beasts. 8. The Thine of earth and the Tsun, 10, of wind either quaked the earth or sent sand flying, forcing Su Xing and the rest back continuously. The Bagua terror-inducing array was a frightful magic circle. The Bagua Jins each had conspicuous abilities, and the 5 spirits' magic was more and more emergent. The strongest among them was actually the 2 Bagua Jins that did not have magic, the Qian of heaven and the Kuan of earth. However, they possessed remarkable powers, and their martial strength was super powerful. Fighting with Lin Yingmei, it was unclear who held the advantage. Su Xing raised the protective earth shield to defend the 3 girls Wu Xinjie, and Suwen, and Shi Yuan. Afterwards, he tossed the heaven sword, controlling the sword to go slashing. When this young lady gets out, she definitely will manufacture a set of this type of Bagua puppets. Shi Yuan saw this type of situation and produced an exciting idea. Wu Xinjie nevertheless was not true about her words. She had already agreed to not let Su Xing act, but in the end, it still fell into this kind of situation, which made the knowledge star depressed from her heart. Boom! A massive noise from within the square. The Zhen Jin suddenly soared high into the air. Lin Yingmei's spear unexpectedly raised this Jin up. Her power really was this valiant, which was absolutely stupefying. Yingmei, only by throwing it into the corresponding Bagua position can you kill it. Wu Xinjie shouted loudly. The majestic star loudly yelled. Lin Yingmei's spear flung, and this Zhenjin was thrown onto the corresponding Bagua position. Immediately afterwards, she leapt to slash. The Arctic Star Serpent spear directly connected with the Zhen, eliminating it. The sound of a fire snake whistling rose, and Lin Yingmei retreated backwards. The fleet whirled its parasol, both arms bringing together a fire python. The spear's tip broke through, the girl's appearance vigorous. The powerful Qian powerfully slashed with its 18 weapons. A huge sword cut it down. Then a more than 1 meter thick purple thunder python immediately bit and retrieved the huge sword. The one who acted was exactly Su Xing. Without stopping for any rest, Su Xing's palms clenched, and the purple thunder python boomed. The Qian was beat back continuously. Lin Yingmei took advantage of this to cut open its attack. The Arctic Star Serpent spear directly attacked onto the Ngli, and the fire net broke, layer after layer, as the cold light brushed over its figure. Immediately, the Li similarly also turned into fire and smoke that dissipated when it fell onto its Bagua position. Yan Yizhen also stalled 2 Bagua Jins, which were the Zhen and Dui. The former moved layer upon layer of huge rocks to pound at her, but the maid's fist broke through and startled heaven. The Zhen also collapsed into pieces under Yan Yizhen's fist. The Du let out 1,000 caddies of heavy water, but the maid was light as a feather, very quickly turning it into a sacrificial victim as well. The remaining 4 Bagua Jins were the Qian, Kun, Kan, and Sun. Kan held a green banner, its right hand violently raised. Green shadows trembled for a few moments, and a massive, shining lance of pitch black already appeared in its hand. It was no less than 2 zhang in length. Suddenly, with a huge noise like a thunderclap, the Kun threw the green lance towards Wu Xinjie and the rest. The water in its hand became a lance, already changing into lightning as it madly pounced at Wu Xinjie. A sharp, ear-piercing noise immediately ripped apart the atmosphere of the world, the surrounding airflow instantly affected by this immense strength. The earth shield shook. 2 flying claws at a glittering 1-star shot out from the shield and grabbed the dancing green banner of the Kansas. "Watch this, young ladies," Shi Yuan shouted. Wu Xinji also was unwilling to wait for death like this. When the can was thrown backwards, she threw out a talisman. The talisman turned into a rolling black wind. Shi Yuan flew up, and the 2 claws dragged the can into its place. Then, under the ruthless attack of the star weapons of 3 girls, the can stepped into trailing dust. A violent wind like a blade. The Sun's hand danced wildly, blowing sand in bursts. It was not able to sustain itself for too long under Su Xing's blooming water divine thunder and heaven sword, and it became the 6th to disappear into thin air. The last remaining were Qian and Kun. One possessed remarkable abilities, excellent in 8 kinds of military skills. The latter was impervious to sword and spear, impenetrable by water and fire. It indeed made the 6 people feel a headache. However, any way the 6 looked at these 2, victory was already at hand. Due to Wu Xinjie, and Suwen and Shi Yuan's control and obstruction of Kun, Su Xing, Lin Mei and Yan Yizhen then went to handle Qian. The Qian changed into 3 heads and 6 arms. Its spear, sword, saber, pestle and the rest waved in a flurry. Su Xing's figure did a reverse bend in midair, dodging the Qian's 2 weapons. Once again speedily drawing close to it, Lin Mei and Yan Yizhen simultaneously used their weapons to hold back the Qian's counterattack. That frightening attack seemed to airtight, but this time, it was easily broken by Su Xing. One hand captured the Qian's shoulder while the other already firmly struck it. Within the ear-piercing booming noise, it was the first time Su Xing showed off a fierce boxing that was exactly just like Yan Qing's. Both his hands were just like flipping flour, unceasingly flickering over the Qian's body. In a short time, its attack had been broken through, and the Qian completely lost its proper evasion reactions. However, Su Xing's boxing alone was far from being able to bring a threat. When Su Xing withdrew his suppressive assault on the Qian, Lin Mei then waved her spear. The spear's light tore, and it madly slashed as if to pierce the sun and break the moon. When the Qian again went to obstruct Lin Mei, its defense towards Yan Yizhen over there completely collapsed. Afterwards, what happened was very simple. An ice-cold intent appeared on Yan Yizhen's face. Her 2 hands contained powerful strength, and she completely did not hesitate to use Swallow Flash Samsara. Under an assault that stuck to its body like this, the Qian's powerful corpse became just like a decoration. Not a teacup later, the final 2 Bagua Jins, Qian and Kun, simultaneously disappeared. The Bagua diagram flashed and shattered, the white fog at last dispersing. How could this place have this kind of people probing magic circle? Wu Xinjie was unable to understand. Shi Yuan excitedly said, "Who cares?" But this young lady already wonders how to make an unrivaled Bagua puppet. After the white fog passed, the main hall was the way it was before. The only difference was that they unwittingly walked out 100 steps. Su Xing was not without caution as he sized up this room. The room was approximately 100 square meters. The walls all around were engraved with many incomprehensible relief sculptures and characters. This tomb had a carved stone monument. The topmost platform was a praying mat platform. The surroundings were arranged with porcelain bottles, calligraphy and paintings, and burnt-out aromatic stands. 1,000 years had passed, yet it seemed to be as peaceful as yesterday. On this praying mat, they saw a white skeleton, its hands bound in a seal. It sat cross-legged with a purple Chenkuan robe draped over it. It wore an absolute ultimate purple gold crown, making them feel auspicious and peaceful. Suddenly, there was an intent to not disturb it. Could this be Lin Yingmei wrinkled her brow? Taoist Master Qiankuan? Su Xing spat these 4 words. The girls all looked at each other in dismay, and Wu Xinjie even somewhat had not returned to her senses. Just this easily, they found the Taoist Master Qiankuan's resting place. This is really the Taoist Master Qiankuan? Shi Yuan asked, surprised. It is written very clearly on the front. Su Xing indicated towards that slab of a stone monument in the room. Written upon it from the beginning were the 2 words, a chance. Below were an additional few rows of inscriptions. The characters carved on the steel wound and twisted, written in a forceful hand. It showed the carver's capabilities that were at the pinnacle of perfection, and the steel's inscription was not carved with any sort of tool. When the pen flowed, it flowed smoothly, as if Zhang Jie were creating characters, profound and mysterious. Wu Xinjie looked and nodded. The wind divine carving, of the legendary 4 Styles school founder Qiankuan's 4 Styles refinement was comprehended to the highest levels. Everyone curiously looked at the inscriptions. The inscription was written thus: Bagua sets the Qiankuan, for styles all same schools. The mundane enters my gatekeeper, the heart's wisdom births chance. Saraira 3 confers wisdom root, creative heaven astral winds bestowed. This secret raises 4 styles, our self passes to eternity. The inscription was very short, yet the meaning was completely simple. More or less it said, as long as the 4 style school disciples undid the Bagua, then this Taoist master's tomb could be found. After that time, because of the heart's wisdom and resourcefulness of that disciple, a chance would be obtained. This Taoist master will grant unto him a Saraira, presenting to him the Qian heaven astral winds. Use this Taoist name to raise this sect. Our self can serve contributions of 1,000 years, fame leaving behind these annals. Wu Xinjie explained. This really was the Taoist master's resting place. What kind of things are the Saraira and the creative heaven astral winds? Shi Yuan was muddled. Is it this? Lin Yingmei said as she all of a sudden pointed at the skeleton that died sitting. Su Xing and the rest shifted their gazes over and discovered after a search that an azure pearl was hidden on the skeleton. It was like jade yet not like jade, like stone yet not like stone. Su Xing held it in his hand, and he suddenly thought of something. From his person, he took out another pearl that bore a close resemblance, just that it was red in color. Saraira? Su Xing looked at Wu Xinjie. Though Xinjie has heard of Buddhist Sarairas, but those are multicolored. They are not like this. The knowledge star did not understand. The efficacious star suddenly recalled something, shouting in amazement. Could it be that 5 spirits magic Saraira? The efficacious star seemed considerably shocked. 5 spirits magic Saraira? Wu Xinjie was blank. Seeing that everyone was baffled, Suan swallowed and explained. The 5 spirits magic Saraira is a legendary tool refinement master's highest product. The most top-notch tool refinement master on his deathbed can urge the true flame in his body to concentrate the best feature of his body into a single piece. This is the 5 spirits magic Saraira. This kind of 5 spirits magic Saraira is made with the heart blood of a top-notch tool refinement master, and it could be said to be an item anyone would yearn for day and night. Of course, this sort of 5 spirits magic Saraira was not that easy to find. Only those pinnacle tool refinement masters that willingly produced it could work, and in the case this tool refinement master did produce it, then he would have reached the end of his life. It could be said that the tool refinement master traded his life for it, and it would not necessarily be produced every time. The 5 spirits magic Saraira was even more legendary than the Buddhist Saraira. Once, the Crystal Dragon King's palace came out with a 5 spirits magic Saraira, and its worth in gold was more than 100 billion liang. When Su Xing finished listening, he was shocked. Isn't that saying this type of Saraira could change a rookie into a tool refinement scholar? Besides tool refinement skill not at the level of a great scholar's, using it for a tool refinement's pinnacle true flame is very much on the level of a great scholar. Wu Xinjie said. A tool refinement master's true flame needed to accumulate 100 years be able to refine a 5 spirits magic Sarira. Its power naturally could be imagined. How very defiant of the natural order. Su Xing clicked his tongue. So terrifying. Then Su Xing can become a great scholar after refining it? Shi Yuan blinked, somewhat excited. Is this also a 5 spirits magic Sarira? Su Xing held up the red pearl and asked. This piece was obtained from Yuqi Qingshan, meaning he also was a peak tool refinement scholar. And Suan examined it and drew in a breath of cold air. She looked at Su Xing in disbelief. Big brother, you perhaps are this world's most envied person. This is a 5 spirits magic Sarira. From the color, it seems to be fire type. The Taoist master Qiankuan's is wind? Yes. With things like this, master having 2 Sariras of fire and wind is equivalent to a tool refinement scholar. Yan Yizhen stared blankly. However, refining it requires time. But if Big Brother wants to master the 4 styles refining, it can actually save much time. And Suan said, if they proceeded, Su Xing's 5 styles would have the 3 types of earth, fire, and wind. If only he mastered water and thunder, then it would be settled. The form was not just very good, it was a major good. And where is that creative heaven astral wind art? Lin Yingmei asked. Right under your nose. Su Xing looked all around the walls. The complex and cryptic relief sculptures like tadpoles on the wall were densely packed and decorated the entire room. Everything on these? Shi Yuan's eyes spun. He made things so troublesome, and for what? This also is probably a test. Wu Xinjie guessed. The Bagua mechanism of a tomb hidden underground, or the Bagua terror inflicting array just now. Perhaps the Taoist master Qiankuan wanted to choose someone that, regardless of the root of wisdom, was a disciple whose capabilities that were outstanding to inherit his creative heaven astral winds. In addition, the characters on this wall were the final hoop. If these writings were ignored, even if the 5 spirits magic Sarira was obtained, it could not display its effects. To Su Xing, this was not a difficult problem. The heart-like mirror absolute sincerity soul technique broke, and those complex characters were projected into his ocean of consciousness. In an instant, the incantation upon it appeared line by line. Su Xing hurriedly memorized it, discovering that besides the creative heaven astral wind's secret, the entire room's script had additionally hidden innate Qiankuan escape technique. 5. Disciple Su Xing. Though the 4-style school cannot guarantee that it can bring you to the height of your development, it will exhaust everything it can. 6. Su Xing carefully bowed towards the Taoist master Qiankuan 3 times with his arms held in front of him. The Taoist master Qiankuan putting so much consideration into this had made him moved. After reigniting the longevity lamps in this grave, only then did Su Xing and the girls leave this quiet tomb. Just as they left, the Taoist master Qiankuan's remains turned to dust. As if his wish was satisfied, he did not leave even the slightest trace. Coming out of the Bagua diagram, it was just like a century had passed. Su Xing slightly sighed. Originally, he only wanted to let Wu Xinjie sound out the difficulties and retreat after finding how things really were, but who would have that not only did they accidentally find the Taoist master Qiankuan's tomb, they also obtained the heaven and wind relics as well as the heaven and wind arts, the innate Qiankuan escape technique. Even more gratifying was that Ansuan's essence-swallowing dragons also finally reached more than 150 in number. How was it? Su Xing solving the labyrinth has brought many benefits? Shi Yuan excitedly said. This time, Sister Xinjie and I can go all out, right? Su Xing was just about to reply when an escape light shook straight from the sky. The girls immediately entered the star nest upon seeing this, and Su Xing inwardly said, "Shit," still deferentially going up to greet him. "It's you." The one who came was not just anyone, but precisely the 4-style school headmaster, the Taoist master Xianan. "How are you here?" The Taoist master Xuantian's eyes revealed confusion. Disciple passed by this place and thought something happened when he saw 2 senior brothers fall asleep. Thus disciple entered the tomb. Su Xing said. Only when the Taoist master Xiantian sensed a difference in the Qiankuan tomb did he rush over, and hearing Su Xing's explanation, sure enough, the mountain guarding disciples had fallen asleep. Do you not know this is a forbidden area? The Taoist master Xiantian wrinkled his brow. A brief moment of anxiety made disciple forget. Disciple willingly accepts punishment. Su Xing sincerely said, "What did you find?" The Taoist Xiantian did not acknowledge but asked another question. Su Xing shook his head. Disciple did not dare blaspheme and did not stop over for long. And, in the future, make no further mention of this matter. Go back first. Afterwards, there will not be anything special. Entering the forbidden area of the Qiankuan Mound, excusing the fact that you are a disciple that has just entered the school, this incident will be overlooked. Do not do this again. Disciple solemnly obeys these instructions. Su Xing repeatedly thanked. Just as he prepared to leave, the Taoist master Xiantian suddenly recalled something, saying, "Su Xing, follow this headmaster a while." Su Xing was puzzled and saw the Taoist master Xiantian struck his magic energy to rouse the sleeping disciples. His riding sword then flew towards Pure Heart Peak, which Su Xing followed. "Su Xing, how are your recent tool refinement studies? Have you encountered difficult problems?" The Taoist master Xuantian's voice that was neither too fast nor too slow appeared in Su Xing's ears. "Many thanks for headmaster's concern. Master has treated disciple very well." The Taoist master Xuantian's tone was profound. "Ever since you arrived, this headmaster has not been this lively in a very long time. Disciple has been unreasonable." Su Xing knew he was speaking of the matters these past few days. He had heard that Ruan Hongxue was the Taoist master Xuantian's granddaughter. He had bullied her like that, so he did not know whether or not that uncivilized girl went and grumbled to the headmaster. The Taoist master Xiantian did not show any intent to take anything out on Su Xing. His face carried a slight smile, seemingly as if he was somewhat lamenting while brimming with a trace of joy. The sect has always needed a little energy, so long as everything is within the old generation. This headmaster did not know if he was in his declining years and saw many things had opened. With regards to the matter of Hongxue, she is indeed too tsundere. Your chastisement was very correct. Disciple does not dare do it the next time. No need to be this reserved. This headmaster actually wanted to rely on you to correct her tsundere temperament. Her age is also not small anymore. If this headmaster could obtain a grandson while he still had life, then that would be pretty good. 7. Young lord would not fancy that little girl at all. Shi Yuan was displeased. Su Xing blushed with shame, feeling that this headmaster had the intent to act as a go-between. The Taoist master Xiantian very quickly flew to the headmaster's building and invited Su Xing to enter. Su Xing did not know what he wanted to do, but the master of the magnificent four-style school was unlikely to hurt him. The headmaster's pavilion was decorated with an old elegance, and the Taoist master Xiantian directly brought Su Xing to a secret room. He saw the bookshelves inside this secret room crisscrossed, completely filled with books and works. This headmaster sees your cultivation has reached Nebula Peak and should be entering Galaxy Stage. The Taoist master Xiantian only then stated his intent. He warmly smiled. Su Xing, have you considered what sword art to cultivate? Although this headmaster is declining, and neither is this a sword-cultivating great sect, we have previously gathered many sword arts. You can choose any two from here to go practice. Su Xing was stunned. Although you have only entered this sect for 10 days, this Taoist master treats you like his own disciple. Since you are quickly about to reach Galaxy Stage, this sword art should be granted unto you by this headmaster, as it should be by rights. Su Xing clearly understood. It seemed this four-style school indeed was declining in power. He had not reached Galaxy Stage, yet he had roped in the headmaster like this. If it was any other great sect, it would simply be a matter of he being under the banner of a master. How could he be worthy of a headmaster's worry? Thinking back to the Taoist master Qiankuan's grave, Su Xing secretly sighed. Su Xing was not in a position to decline, and add on that he was curious about the four-style school sword arts. He sought for them inside this classic storage pavilion. It was reasonable to say that the four-style school, as an ancient nine-dragon school, should have more than a few supreme-grade rare books, But Su Xing searched for half a day and discovered that not even seeing one was genuinely incredible. This made Su Xing very flabbergasted. Seeing Su Xing's bewilderment, the Taoist master Xiantian then explained the reason. The four-style school in the past indeed had many supreme grade, even ancient, sword arts. It was just that when the sect-extinguishing disaster occurred, they were looted with nothing left. Currently, the remaining sword arts mostly were conserved by pure fluke, or created by a few disciples in the following 100 years. Inside were some sword arts that really were not that bad, but to Su Xing, this type of grade was far from contending against Zhao Hanyan's 72 outer void flying immortals, so practicing them undoubtedly somewhat squandered time. Su Xing feigned satisfaction as he picked, finally choosing a 108 Qiankuan overturned sword art. This was saved by the 5th-generation headmaster, but cultivating it was abnormally challenging. 108 swords required heavenly Qian magnetite, 2, and Kuan spinning sand, 3, to forge. It was simply unable to be practiced. The reason why Su Xing chose this was only because he felt this 108 was mutually a good fit with the heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5-element sword. Upon it was recorded a few sword arrays that could not be said for sure to intercommunicate usage. Allow this headmaster to say some words out of kindness. Youngsters must not bite off more than they can chew. Being able to adapt yourself is the most important. The Taoist master Xiantian stared blankly when he saw the sword art Su Xing chose, thinking that Su Xing had been attracted by the link recorded in the sword art, and he immediately advised him. With Su Xing's current capabilities, forging 108 Qiankuan swords simply was an impossible to achieve assignment. Su Xing, this 18 Dark Fire Heavenly Li sword or this 4 styles 1 Qi sword, 5, also suit you. Many thanks to headmaster, but disciple has a different plan. Su Xing said. The Taoist master Xiantian muttered to himself, but did not stop Su Xing. Since your intentions are already decided, that is fine. If you encounter a problem, you can speak to this headmaster. Thanks, headmaster. Disciple engraves this great favor to memory. Su Xing bowed. Before he left, the Taoist master Xiantian also gave him a bottle of transforming qi powder that could break through to galaxy cultivation. Although it could not be compared to something like the river scattering pill, it was still a spirit pill. By the time Su Xing left the headmaster's pavilion, he had an additional 2 unexpected harvests. Why is this Taoist master Xiantian this intent on roping Su Xing in? The girls emerged from the star nest, and Shiyuan asked, confused. Young Lord used Nebula 6 late-stage divine sense to thwart Jiao Shu, and he can also easily take a nebula magic weapon when confronting it. Finally, one person regulating more than a dozen cultivators at the same stage, wouldn't you say young Lord attracts attention? Wu Xinjie smiled. The cultivation Su Xing currently displayed was something he possessed prior to entering the school. As one might imagine, the inside of the sect would certainly spare no effort to give Su Xing benefits to make him have even more of a sense of belonging, so much so that Su Xing wanted to let those inside the sect forge the heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5-element swords, wood element sword, without the slightest hesitation in consent. Only, it was a pity this type of immemorial sword art absolutely could not be made public. Ju Yueka also should have movements? Wu Xinjie guessed. Go as you wish. Su Xing happily reaped where he had not sown. Seeing Su Xing's expression was cheerful, Wu Xinjie's charming voice said, Then, young lord, what do you think of Xinjie's proposal? Do you really want to go to the Azure Dragon territory to solve a few of the labyrinths on the 10,000 spirits notice you spoke of? Su Xing asked. And Xinjie does not wish to be idle. Su Xing knew the knowledge star had fixed her resolve. Turning his head to Lin Wangmai and Yan Yizhen, he said, Then you two go together with Xinjie. Master, it is necessary to have one person stay behind to protect you. Forgive slave servant for difficulty in complying. Yan Yizhen was stern. Young lord, do not make Xinjie worry about you. Wu Xinjie softly said. You also saw it. Mazes and puzzles inevitably are solvable, but the dangers are not few. Su Xing was not able to relax over this point. Although Wu Xinjie and Shiyuan combined were strong, Their martial strength actually was still somewhat deficient. Lin Yingmei said, "Young master, let your servant go together along with the knowledge star." Having been in contact for so long, Lin Yingmei's and Wu Xinjia's friendship was fairly deep. Seeing that Wu Xinjia wanted to exert a bit of strength, naturally she had somewhat of an understanding. Then good. Su Xing nodded. "Yan Yizhen, you must protect young master," Lin Yingmei solemnly said to Yan Yizhen. Su Xing smiled. "This place is the four-style school center, how could there be any danger? Moreover, am I that unable to withstand a single blow?" "Apologies, your servant," Lin Yingmei exposed a trace of regret. Su Xing interrupted her words. He actually did not mind, but hearing Lin Yingmei's tone was that concerned, he actually was somewhat happy. "You girls hold on to this purple star token. If something dangerous happens, immediately use parodies in a flash," Su Xing ordered. Seeing Wu Xinjia still wanted to decline, he said in a commanding tone, "If you are unable to let me be at ease over this point, then I cannot let you girls go out." "Xinjia understands?" Wu Xinjia bit her lip. "But how will elder sister go?" And Suwen suddenly asked, recalling a difficult problem. The Azure Dragon territory was so vast, and those labyrinths and remains were separated by great distances. If she relied solely on her two legs, a month of time simple could only open a few, which was a problem. Furthermore, the four-style school was isolated on its lonesome on the sea, so returning was troublesome. "No need to worry, Yuana already finished a flight mechanism. Although its speed is somewhat slower, it is usable," Wu Xinjia said. "It would be better to first wait a bit, see whether or not I can borrow an even better chariot," Su Xing said. Mirror's flower stream, bamboo forest house. Tang Lianxin sat inside the house, reading an old book held in his hands. His expression was serious and cold. He did not even care that Su Xing entered the house. "Tang Lianxin, what are you looking at?" Su Xing took the chance to sit beside Tang Lianxin, placing one hand naturally upon his shoulder. Tang Lianxin seemed to be unaccustomed to Su Xing being this close. His brow creased, but he did not pay attention. Su Xing was already accustomed to that antisocial and apathetic disposition of his. Seeing Tang Lianxin reading a tool refinement true flame program, his heart said this child really was obsessed. That four schools deep arts' recorded mutual engenderment refinement style could be rated as exquisite, and now he again was researching how he could use some other type of method to replace the four styles refining. "That book you gave me last time was very enlightening, so I really don't know how I should thank you." That expression of Tang Lianxin's probably wanted to say, "Letting go with your hand will do." Su Xing pretended to be oblivious, smiling. "Are we not brothers?" "No." Tang Lianxin did not want that. "It can't be? We count as brothers no matter what, right? You saw that I helped you, so you gave me a very useful book. Any way you put it, our relationship is very close. Master said to make us close as brothers. Wouldn't you saying this make her feel very hurt? Every day, we sleep together, and last time, you even hugged my arm. Is our relationship still not close?" Tang Lianxin's pupils widened, his ears turning red. Su Xing began to continuously utter embellishments. The beautiful girls in the star nest could not clearly figure out what medicine he was selling. Just what is Su Xing doing? Shi Yuan was confused. This Tang Lianxin is somewhat strange. Wu Xinjia was puzzled. Strange? Indeed. Young lord is this close, and he still has that manner that makes people stay 3 chi away. Truly dislikable. Shi Yuan said. "If you have something to say, just say it. Do not disturb me." Tang Lianxin finally could not take Su Xing's blabbering. The more he spoke, the more he was lost. He revealed many of his sleeping posture secrets, making Tang Lianxin somewhat resentful. Big brother has something he needs to request in return. "Can you help big brother?" Su Xing chuckled. The reason why he chatted this long was to make the two's relationship even closer by some. "What business do you have?" "It's this. Could you lend me that fire beacon chariot of yours for me to use?" "Oh, it's like this. I am very curious about flight astral tools, so I want to research." Su Xing saw Tang Lianxin show suspicion, so he promptly explained. "It's fine if you can't. I was only randomly asking. Don't ruin our brotherly bonds because of this. Su Xing laughed. He did not have much of a hope that he would lend his astral tool. Tang Lianxin's hand moved and placed the fire beacon chariot on the ground. Then he buried his head back in the book without saying a word. Thanks. Su Xing did not expect he would unexpectedly be this good at speaking. Patting his shoulder, in the future, if you encounter anything bothersome, tell Big Brother and that will do. If you were a woman, I'd really want to give you a kiss, huh? All the girls blushed with shame. Leaving the bamboo forest, Su Xing lent the fire beacon chariot to Wu Xinjie. With this kind of astral tool treasure chariot, he could be even more at ease. 7. Who is that Tang Lianxin? Surprisingly, he has a flight astral tool. Shi Yuan was astonished. Originally, even if it was an astral tool, flight astral tools were even fewer. It's probably something he refined himself. Su Xing saw Tang Lianxin's tool refinement extreme talent, and coming out with 2 astral tools, he randomly said something. Wu Xinjie's brow locked tight. In short, you girls be careful. Yingmei, carefully look after Xinjie and Yuana. Su Xing instructed. Yingmei understands. This nevertheless was still the first time they would be apart for a month. Although it was not long, it still actually made Su Xing somewhat reluctant to part. Thank you, young lord, for letting Xinjie be willful. Wu Xinjie restrained her feelings, smiling. She stepped forward and stood tiptoe. Drawing herself past Su Xing's neck, she deep kissed him. The lips of the two lingered, and only when she was made to pant did the knowledge star drop her lips. This young lady also wants to. Shi Yuan was not resigned to let this chance pass. In front of everyone's faces, they kissed. After their passionate kiss, Shi Yuan's beautiful body powerlessly fell onto Su Xing's shoulder. That was really good. Finally, they directed their gazes to the girl with the blank face. Lin Yingmei stared blankly, realizing the meaning of these expressions. Her face turned slightly red, and she retreated a step. She firmly said, "It is not necessary for your servant. Little sister, why are you shy? You will not see young master for a month. Can you endure it?" Wu Xinjie giggled and pushed her. Lin Yingmei was pushed into Su Xing's chest. The girl's clean pupils were somewhat helpless like a fawn's. Young master, don't. Recalling that other night when he helped Lin Yingmei change into the belly band, the girl's gentle as water appearance, Su Xing's heart stirred. Smiling, he pulled her in and tenderly kissed Lin Yingmei's lips. Lin Yingmei's pupils froze. She was somewhat inexperienced for her first kiss, but when Su Xing's tongue pried open the girl's white teeth, wantonly sucking her sweetness, both of Lin Yingmei's arms trembled slightly as she grabbed Su Xing's clothes. Her eyes were misty, completely surrendering under the man's dominance. Her tongue unconsciously hooked around his forlornly. They sucked at each other, responded to each other. It seemed as if this kiss lasted a century. The nearby beauties were startled, dumbstruck. Was this really that legendary majestic star? Accepting Wu Xinjie's influence, the remaining people of Flaming Eastern Island made an even greater effort. And Suwen returned to the Void Immortal's abode and began to compound a spirit medicine for the breakthrough to galaxy stage. Su Xing returned to the bamboo house to thank Tang Lianxin, only to discover he was not inside. From the hot spring behind the bamboo house came noises. Su Xing clearly understood then. Wu Xinjie made him care more for this child, saying that his help was very great. He thought that although Tang Lianxin's temperament was antisocial, he actually was largely very helpful to Su Xing, and just that 4 styles refinement already was pretty good. Su Xing pondered, then stripped and walked in. Flaming Eastern Island's underground fires were continuous, its hot springs countless. To count any of Flaming Eastern Island's most useful specialties, this soaking in a hot spring was categorized as the first. This hot spring of the Mirror's flower stream was a place that especially delightful. Steam rose in spirals with a sort of feeling of being wholly changed. "Why are you back so early this time?" Tang Lianxin spotted Su Xing and was startled. "Big brother returned to accompany you." Su Xing stretched out his arms, walking down into the spa. The burning spa waters cleaned the skin that was recently beaten exhausted, and a kind of comfortable feeling filled his heart. His whole body and his blood vessels seemed to open wide. Tang Lianxin swam to a place further away, staying far from Su Xing. One hand covered his chest while the other was beneath the water. Su Xing saw this guarded appearance of Tang Lianxin and was speechless. It was as if he seemed to be about to violate Tang Lianxin. Su Xing swam towards him. "You, don't come over." Tang Lianxin's tone had a rarely seen slight urgency, wanting to escape. Su Xing did not understand how he was this stirred up. Could it be Su Xing himself had developed as being fiendish, or did it appear that he had that kind of homosexual hobby? The hot spring was not big, so Tang Lianxin very quickly did not have any place to hide. Su Xing swam up beside him, and there was no big deal. He just felt that chatting while near each other was better, nothing more. "Brother Tang, you really are shy. We're both men, so what is there to be ashamed of?" Su Xing washed his body, objecting to Tang Lianxin. Tang Lianxin did not speak, only shutting his eyes. Su Xing felt that he truly was bashful to the point of being interesting. He even more could not help but want to tease him. "Why aren't you washing? Big brother will help wipe your back." Saying this, one hand grabbed Tang Lianxin, and his other held a bath towel, wiping it on Tang Lianxin's back. Tang Lianxin's skin was fair and tender, making Su Xing unable to refrain from being somewhat surprised. This simply was like a woman's skin. Tang Lianxin shrieked, leaving Su Xing. "Don't touch me. You aren't a woman, right?" Su Xing was stunned by this emotional reaction of his. "I just do not like letting people wipe my back. I can do it myself." Tang Lianxin seemed to feel his own reaction was too intense and calmed down. He raised his gaze to look squarely at Su Xing, but with this glance, his eyes were about to pop from their sockets. Su Xing just happened at this time felt that this side was not too awkward, and he rose, wanting to change positions. His scarlet body immediately was revealed before Tang Lianxin's eyes. In particular, Tang Lianxin's line of sight happened to be level with Su Xing's waist and below, taking in everything. His face was red, as if swirling with fire. He submerged half his face into the hot spring, letting out bubbles with a gulugulu sound. Su Xing this bashfulness and laughed. In the army, he was already used to this, so he was far from being like this shyness of his. He really is a pure and innocent boy, Su Xing thought. "Buddy, you being this shy is intolerable. You're already like this looking at a man. If you reach the wedding night of the woman you like, then wouldn't you have a nosebleed?" Su Xing had a commanding, instructive tone. Under Wu Xinjia's enticement, this guy's skin had become very thick. Seeing his blankness, Su Xing said nothing more. Each minding their own business, they enjoyed the hot spring. Having been in Lianshan for this long, this still was the first thing that let Su Xing separate enjoyable and familiar things. In his ocean of consciousness, he asked his personal maid Yan Yizhen whether or not she would like to take a soak together, but the reply was silence, of course. Flaming Eastern Islands' underground fires were very heavy. Soaking for long in a hot spring with this type of temperature would make people faint with blurred vision. Ordinary star cultivators would find it unbearable, and only when Su Xing used star energy did he improve to an extent. As he bathed, Su Xing suddenly discovered a bit of blood red drifting on the water. Su Xing was startled, believing somewhere on himself that he had a problem. However, as he found that the blood red was increasing, his gaze then followed it over. Surprisingly, it was Tang Lianxin. This child unexpectedly actually had a nosebleed. A pervert, then, to have a nosebleed from looking at a man's body. Su Xing's goosebumps rose. Just as he wanted to stay far away from him, abruptly, at this time, Tang Lianxin was somewhat not too normal. Su Xing saw his eyes were hazy, powerless and in poor health. His hand covered his nose while the other pulled himself over the edge of the bath. That hand sheltering his chest no longer covered it. Through that faintly discernible surface of the water, Su Xing discovered his pectorals were slightly swollen. Looking like a woman's skin, his pectorals were somewhat developed. That's not right. Right now, he was not thinking about that sort of random thing. Su Xing unexpectedly discovered Tang Lianxin had fainted from soaking in the hot spring. This guy really is odd. Already like this, yet he still didn't leave. Seeing Tang Lianxin vaguely lost consciousness, his body slid into the water. Su Xing immediately swiftly hugged him, leaping onto the bank. He reprimanded, "Just how long did you soak in the hot spring? Do you want to die?" From Tang Lianxin's breath came an alluring groan. Su Xing shivered. Suddenly he saw Tang Lianxin's slightly swollen chest was somewhat not too normal. If they were developed pectoral muscles, there was no reason for them to be breasts bulging like hills, but these also were not like a woman's chest. Feeling this was too inadequate, Su Xing then suddenly found that Tang Lianxin's throat was smooth. Without an Adam's apple. Su Xing unconsciously looked towards Tang Lianxin's lower half. This glance almost made Su Xing have a nosebleed. He saw that Tang Lianxin's secret place was completely convex. That secret garden did not have any grass to cover it, exactly like the hairless genitals of a woman. The most important thing was that it presented a side completely opposite to a man's physiology. She was a girl. Su Xing immediately leaked blood. "Fuck me, this guy surprisingly actually was a woman." Tang Lianxin slowly opened her eyes. Her head was dizzy, and she felt as if she had dreamt a very peculiar dream. Just when she was enjoying the hot spring, a man suddenly charged in. He who did not know her identity as a woman began to greet her, moreover groping her as he wished. Tang Lianxin wanted to leave, but she did not dare rise in front of the man, lest she expose her body. During this careful pondering, that man then very expertly revealed everything in front of her. The Tang Lianxin who had never seen this type of battle array had her brain immediately short-circuit. Her nose released heat, and that man endlessly clamored beside her ear, saying something about close brothers should be frank, that they must not regard each other as outsiders. "Just kidding, I, Tang Lianxin, am a woman, and who would be a brother with you?" That man seemingly was very fascinated by the spa, unwilling to leave even after several hours. Tang Lianxin at this time felt her head was more and more murky, and the dream she had afterward was somewhat unclear. It seemed she was carried without wearing one thread out from the hot spring by that man. Without wearing one thread. Tang Lianxin's eyes opened. Immediately, she opened the blanket and saw she was currently wearing her undergarments. Tang Lianxin slightly exhaled, but her face all of a sudden became even more unsightly. She undoubtedly soaked in the spa naked, so how could she possibly be wearing clothes? Furthermore, there abruptly was a sound outside the room. Seeing someone had entered the house, Tang Lianxin unconsciously shut her eyes to feign sleep. She had not finished thinking how she should go about confronting this embarrassment. The man who entered was none other than Su Xing. How has she still not awoken? Su Xing sat beside the bed. He took up the girl's wrist, taking her pulse. Inheriting and Su Wen's medical expertise, he was somewhat heartful of medical knowledge. Seeing the girl's breath was seemingly long and ragged, it was not too steady, but it seemed that she should have no problems. "Buddy, buddy. You pretended to be a woman for what?" Su Xing was nearby, talking to himself. "Forget it. You must have your own way of thinking, and I don't feel like investigating it. Although you're a woman, Big Brother does not mind. I will still regard you as a little sister." Su Xing's fingers ran through the girl's hair, his voice exceptionally gentle. If he could see the expression of Yan Yizhen inside the star nest, the maid very much wanted to roll her eyes. "You can't blame Big Brother for just now. I didn't expect that you were a woman, otherwise, Big Brother would not soak in the spa together with you. However, mixed bathing actually isn't anything alarming. We're all family, but while I did take a peep, I definitely did not grope you. I helped my woman change clothes before." It was rather simple. When Su Xing spoke this, his face was somewhat embarrassed because when he helped Tang Lianxin put on her underwear, at that time, he had actually forgotten he could call for Yan Yizhen. It was just that Yan Yizhen did not say anything, so Su Xing forgot for a while. For a man, it was hard to avoid being slightly excited when helping the little white tiger put on her underwear. The Tang Lianxin feigning sleep did not see this at all. Su Xing continued with a fake cough, recovering his seriousness, then seemingly lamented. His tone blamed himself yet was tender-hearted. "You must not blame yourself. Big Brother will feel very apologetic." After a short period, Seeing that Tang Lianxin was still unconscious, Su Xing helplessly sighed. Big brother will go make a bowl of lotus seed kanji for you. Saying this, he then covered Tang Lianxin with the blanket, rose and left. When Su Xing left, Tang Lianxin opened her eyes. She did not know when, but those pale cheeks of hers were already red. The girl's pupils continuously held an extraordinary splendor. Struggling for a while, she finally faintly sighed. Lobby. Su Xing really did boil a bowl of warm and steaming lotus seed swallow's nest kanji. Yen Yizhen inside his ocean of consciousness asked, confused, Master, just now, what is the reason you would say that? If not just now, then when? Su Xing had no alternative. Briefly explaining, when he took Tang Lianxin's pulse, he felt her heartbeat accelerate, which let him know that she already was awake. She merely pretended to sleep perhaps because her heart was flustered to the point she did not know how she should confront the situation facing her. A girl's exposed body will always have ill towards it, but not only was she exposed, she was revealed in such an extreme manner. Perhaps even more for her, she was slightly out of her wits. Particularly, she did not know just what sort of thinking Su Xing had. Only for this reason did Su Xing pretend to talk to himself to explain things simply and clearly while also secretly letting the girl know she could be at ease, that he looked upon her as a little sister. As far as how the result was, Su Xing could only submit to the will of heaven. With light footfalls, Tang Lianxin walked out at this time. She wore tightly sealed clothing, her pupils looking pensively, yet she looked at Su Xing with an expression brimming with coldness and bitterness. Little sister Lianxin, you're up? Su Xing greeted her. Tang Lianxin glanced at the hot and steaming lotus seed swallow's nest kanji on the table, icily saying to Su Xing, what you said just now was actually true? Absolutely true. Su Xing swore. You truly will not inform on me? Tang Lianxin's tone was frigid. Big brother was still late in protecting you, so how could I inform on you? Su Xing twitched his lips, deeming this beneath himself. Tang Lianxin stared blankly for a time. She bit her teeth. Right now, roll yourself outside for me. From tonight onwards, I will not sleep together with you. Hearing these daydream-provoking words, Su Xing laughed out loud, knowing Tang Lianxin at last had recovered. Mei, can Xinjie ask you a question? The fire beacon chariot flashed by with the speed of a shooting star. Wu Xinjie looked at Lin Mei and abruptly smiled. What question? Lin Mei looked at her. Just how did you sign your contract with young lord? Wu Xinjie was truly curious about this. She believed that she was not the only one, but any person would be brimming with curiosity about the legendary majestic star that had signed a contract, when she had never done so. From that kiss when they had just left, Lin Mei apparently had not been compelled at all. Yeah, elder sistering, how did young Lord Su Xing make you sign a contract? Shi Yuan asked. This is not important. Lin Mei shook her head. Seeing that Lin Mei's disinclined to reply manner, Wu Xinjie stuck out her tongue and no longer questioned her. The fire beacon chariot suddenly stopped, and Wu Xinjie gazed at a hill far into the distance. What's the matter? Sister Xinjie, the King Liang historical remains aren't here, right? Shi Yuan said. Lin Mei followed Wu Xinjie's line of sight and also spotted that upper ridge, and her eyelids could not help but jump. That is Jingyang Ridge. Wu Xinjie exclaimed all of a sudden. I never heard of Jingyang Ridge having anything good. Shi Yuan pondered. Wu Xinjie shook her head. They say that after the birth outline of the Star Duel's second phase begins, a slant-eyed white-headed beast will sometimes appear on Jingyang Ridge. Slant-eyed white-headed beast? Shi Yuan's brows wrinkled. Inside her memories of the Star Duels, she vaguely remembered a trace of the meaning contained in this name. I seem to have heard of this before. You'll know it by its other name. What name? The slant-eyed white-headed beast is known to us sisters as the white and black unicorn tiger beast. 2. White and black unicorn tiger? Shi Yuan was astonished. This isn't. It is exactly the pilgrim Wu Song's starborn beast. 3. Wu Xinjie said with certainty, a peculiar brilliance within her eyes. Ah, so it's elder sister Wu Song's? Shi Yuan said in admiration. No wonder the previous generation's Wusong could proudly fight for supremacy. We can only obtain our star beasts during the third phase, and elder sister Wusong surprisingly already obtained hers at the second phase. Obtaining it is nevertheless not simple. Wu Xinjie shook her head, turning her head back to look and smile at the blankly staring Lin Ning. Should we go to Jingyang Ridge to take a look? It can't be said for sure if we might run into the harm star that will not sign contracts, like you. Since the previous generations, the relationship between you and she was pretty good. I heard that it seems the previous generation's Lin Chong almost could for the first time aim for Liangshan without a contractor. So there was this sort of thing also? Shi Yuan looked at Wu Xinjie with admiration. She proved herself to be the ranked third knowledge star. On the other hand, Shi Yuan herself was unaware of many of the Star Duel's Liangshan maiden sisters' secret rumors, without exception. Lin Yingmei was briefly distracted before she finally lightly shook her head. We had best not waste time. Young master is still waiting for us. Wu Xinjie thought this over and also nodded, once again driving the fire beacon chariot. Lin Yingmei turned her head back to glance at that Jingyan Ridge, a pensive look in her eyes. On Jingyang Ridge, an immense white tiger meekly lay on the ground. Its whole body was like snow, completely lacking impurity. Its two pupils looked like frost and snow, close to a transparent white. Two girls leaned upon its body. One of them, a girl with long black hair fine as water, gently pet the white tiger. She was precisely the harm star, Pilgrim Wusong. Indeed worthy of being the harm star's star beast. Shower almost just died here. All the bones in Shower's body were broken. Thanks. Remember your agreement with Shower? Shower shrugged her shoulders. Wusong gazed at that cold, splendid beauty of the white tiger, revealing a faint smile. In an instant, she turned her head and glanced at the horizon, her starry eyes half squinted. What's the matter? Shower said. Wusong slightly shook her head. Just at this time, they saw several dozen sword lights flicker onto Jingyang Ridge. Shower yawned. A group of idiot cultivators come to throw away their lives? In the blink of an eye, Jingyang Ridge already was completely surrounded by 100 cultivators. These cultivators stood on flying swords, their hands raising sword arts. Artifacts in hand, each and every one a powerful enemy. The one in the lead was a severe old man, and his cultivation had reached the peak of galaxy late stage. 33 raging flame flying swords formed a sword array, appearing to be extraordinary. Wusong, you killed our Nine Sons sect headmaster. If you are willing to sign a contract with our Nine Sons sect, we will not look into this matter any further. Otherwise, do not blame us for being rude. The 100 Nebula stage and above cultivators were brimming with self-confidence. Even if it was the legendary Wusong, being encircled by this many people, it was impossible for her to escape unscathed, right? It seemed this Nine Sons sect wanted to become the first great school in Liangshan continent's history to contract Wusong. Wow, 100-star cultivators. So imposing and scary. Shower giggled. Elder sister Wusong truly has attracted affections. Shall Shower help you? As long as you tell Shower your true name, The harm star thought this beneath her. That white and black unicorn tiger abruptly stood, and an ice-cold to the extreme aura immediately enveloped Jingyang Ridge. Ah! The slant-eyed white-headed beast? This is bad. Wusong has subdued her star beast. How can this be? How can she subdue this type of star beast? What sort of star general is that girl? Every star cultivator seemed to have already gave rise to a panicked expression. Do not panic, the severe old man shouted, his voice like a booming bell. How could it be that we are afraid of her with this many people? Another one who is not willing to peacefully enjoy his late years. The harm star sneered. Her eyes were like morning stars, bright and penetrating. Then let me send you on a journey. Immediately the white tiger's howl resounded on the ridge. Nine Sons had met misfortune with the harm star. Under the pretense of Su Xing's excuse, ever since he knew of Tang Lianxin's identity as a woman, not only did the relationship between the two not fall off, they actually were somewhat close. In psychology, It seemed this probably would be called shared secret, a kind of secret that only two people would know that would make their relationship become outstandingly close. Su Xing felt this indeed was rather useful. Su Xing would inquire her about whatever things he did not understand about tool refinement, and Tang Lianxin's level truly was excellent. Many details pertaining to tool refinement were all emptied among each other. If it was any other person, they would need a year to grasp these things while he did not need even a day to be able to comprehend. This sort of progress could be said to be fierce. Su Xing actually had a plan to ask her to help forge a few powerful bullets for Silver Blade. Not long after, Zhu Yueka also taught Su Xing the introductory soul technique for the heavenly water heart flame. Right now, Su Xing's mission could be said to be burdensome. Every day, he was inside the Purple Star Void Immortal's abode, unceasingly cultivating the heavenly water heart flame, the innate Bagua escape technique, chaotic tail escape, absolute sincerity soul technique, the blooming water divine thunder, and purple star transforming chi. Fortunately, he had a purple star grade void immortal's abode. Although his cultivation had been stuck after reaching a bottleneck, the immortal's abode's spirit chi actually helped Su Xing seemingly walk the clear skies in practicing the cultivation methods. And just when Su Xing was occupied increasing his strength, another major event occurred in the Azure Dragon territory. The unique and exceptional genius Xie Zhenyuan, who had been described as the Azure Dragon territory's #1 Star Master, fought over a heavenly spirit grade chest with another Star Master. The result was that this top-notch genius unexpectedly lost. In the end, it still took the intervention of a few elders from the Most High Path in order to save him, and this event made the Azure Dragon territory shook up. The cultivators of the Azure Dragon territory discussed 3 immortal and 3 deities of this generation's star duels, the 6 Star Masters that possessed the greatest talent. The cultivation of these 6 were not only at galaxy stage and above, their strength and background were all exceptional. In particular was Azure Dragon territory's #1 great sect, the Most High Path's Xie Zhenyuan, who was even more chosen as Azure Dragon territory's head Star Master. However, no one had ever expected he would surprisingly lose at the hands of another Star Master. And the name of that Star Master that struck down Xie Zhenyuan with a single blow was immediately memorized by everyone. He had turned into the second name after the purple thunder monster that shook Liangshan. Coming from the Black Turtle territory, he was the holy lord of Draconic Demon. Yellow Sea, the 100 seabirds carrying the birth outline chest on their backs let out a grievous howl before finally withering and dissipating into the clouds, dropping the chest. Plundering a birth outline at the Yellow Sea, it was the Yellow Sea sect, the Giant Whale Gang, 6, which specialized in cultivating water arts. The sect's disciples exceeded 1,000 people, and even a few great schools with 10,000 people did not dare rashly provoke them on the seas. "Quickly go snatch it back," a bald man shouted in a loud voice. A cultivator riding a giant whale rushed towards the chest. In an instant, the expressions of the cultivators close to the chest contorted in bitter pain as they fell into the sea. They saw the chest was being supported by a clump of black smoke. The Giant Whale Gang's cultivators were scared pale, every one of them stopping their movements. A black phantom appeared in it, cradling the chest in his hands. "Tisich, an earthly fiend-grade chest. Makes this holy lord extremely disappointed." The man muttered. "Fellow, the earthly fiend-grade chest was robbed and killed for by the Giant Whale Gang. We also ask that fellow not set down the chest, for amiability makes you rich." A tall and sturdy man cupped his fist while secretly using sound transmission to give the order to his subordinates to prepare to snatch it back. "What kind of thing are you? What qualifications do you have to make demands of this holy lord?" The man hooked his lips into a sinister smile. "Daring to call yourself holy lord, then do not blame us." The big man saw that he was no more than at galaxy middle stage. How could he be afraid? The 100 Giant Whale Gang cultivators struck hand seals, and a magic circle fluttered. A great array appeared on the tranquil sea, enveloping the man in a ray light as the sea waters boiled. "Whale roar sea flipping array." 7. The Giant Whale Gang loudly shouted. "Haha, truly too laughable. Unexpectedly playing with maritime tactics in front of this holy lord." The man chuckled. Xiangfei, let them know what is called displaying your skills before an expert. A gorgeous and alluring girl was revealed. It's a star general? Star master. A galaxy middle stage star master. When she appeared, the giant whale gang disciples all shouted in fright. The woman raised her hand and revealed a sword with a carved dragon. Then, waving the carved dragon sword, the white dragon carved onto the sword swam out. The sword compressed into a weapon that was like a stick yet not like one. The giant whale gang's big man could tell that was a long lance. 8. That's the white night dragon carving lance. 9. What? You're the holy lord of draconic demon? Quickly kill. The 100 disciples shouted. The girl whose hand grasped the dragon carving sword was cold. Her forehead released her star crest, the weapon's white dragon flying to and fro. They saw a white light suddenly shine. The whale roar sea flipping array was unexpectedly suppressed by her imposing air, and the great array suddenly collapsed. A white light sword lifting the sea's surface, forming a terrifying white sea dragon. As if it had substance, when everyone saw this frightening magic, they were all stunned. Go! The woman shouted. What? The sea dragon roared, turning over the surface of the sea. Immediately, it pounced on all the cultivators, nearly without any margin for resistance. The place the sea dragon swallowed had defenses that were laughably weak. The sea dragon continuously turned over on the sea's surface, and in the blink of an eye, the 100 disciples suffered more than 50% casualties. The tall and sturdy person was unresigned. He raised a sword art, and 22 giant whale swords twisted for a kill on the sea dragon, but the sea dragon was under the operation of the girl. The sword array immediately broke, and though the big man wanted to run, a black light covered his body. Finally, he only saw another girl appear, and his brain was immediately plucked by a black talon. After the battle ended, the sea rolled with red blood, dead calm. Not a single cultivator was left. It truly is tedious that the purple star-grade chest still has yet to appear. The black dragon armor girl stretched her face. Holy Lord, another birth outline chest has appeared. The girl holding the dragon carving sword calmly said, stowing her sword. Where? The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon asked, excited. The bow sea. A crimson long sword floated in front of Su Xing. Its entire body was darkness and light, the magic engravings flying. The flame pattern engraving carved onto the blade's edge immediately fluttered. Su Xing pressed his star energy, enshrouding the sword in a tremendous star energy. The firelight shone intensely, and the talisman carvings flying in loops slowly melted. This happened to be the clinging fire star domain sword that had been given a forbiddance marking. Ever since he had some degree of achievement with tool refinement, Su Xing also knew he should somehow break the forbiddance mark upon this. In actuality, it was not difficult. Using the mutual restraint power would work. Forbiddance marking type fire. Su Xing already grasped the scope of the heavens will water flame he acquired from Juyueka's teaching. It so happened that it could break that. For the past few days, the clinging fire star domain sword also reached the final juncture. Su Xing struck several hand seals, and the heavens will water flames sprayed out from his mouth. The dark blue water flame was like fire yet not like fire, like water yet not like water. Endlessly profound. Under the violent launching of the heavens will water flame, the fire-type magic carvings broke, one by one. After several hours, finally, the last magic engraving collapsed. This astral treasure suddenly screamed. Su Xing made his divine intent enter it, controlling this clinging fire star domain sword to his hand. His heart could not help let loose a breath, delight on the tip of his brow. With this astral treasure in hand, he could count as having a helping hand for the future purple star-grade birth outline. As he thought this, the room's door gently opened. The indifferent Yen Yizhen walked in. Seeing Su Xing had at last completed the astral treasure's refinement, her eyes secretly carried a trace of praise, yet she expressionlessly said, Master, slave servant has discovered that a birth outline will appear in the Bo Sea waters near flaming Eastern Island. Does Master wish to go plunder it? Birth outline? Of course we'll plunder it. Su Xing nodded. Regardless of whether it was a heavenly spirit or earthly fiend, it was impossible to miss. Because some birth outlines fell into a few places that great sects were incapable of contending against, they had no choice but to give up. Like the other chests, all were needed to be retrieved by any means necessary, particularly the chest this time that surprisingly was about to fall onto his doorstep. Staring blankly and missing it just was not Su Xing's style. However, Su Xing had just finished refining the clinging Fire Star Domain Sword. His star energy was greatly depleted. In the end, only after he drank several bottles of returned spirit liquid did he exit the 4-style school with Yan Yizhen. With this type of business as the robbing and killing for a birth outline, Su Xing did not bother Suan. The efficacious star currently concentrated on the galaxy stage breakthrough pill. She probably would be laboring these several days, so Su Xing did not want to disturb her. The sea area of the Bo Sea near Flaming Eastern Island was vast. Several hundred cultivators had already waited for a long time. Su Xing restrained his breath, concealing his figure in a dark place and biding his time. The robbing and killing of the birth outline was the crucial point, anyways. This time, the cultivators in the air above the Bo Sea all were from the sect, Bo Sea Sword School. Located in their sect's territory, because the distance was far, although the other small schools and scattered star cultivators wanted to compete, they nevertheless were powerless. They could only stare and watch as the Bo Sea Sword School lay down a great array. Rays of light fled to the Bo Sea's air like meteors falling into the ocean. They saw the sea's surface suddenly churn, and a pair of matchlessly surging wings of sea waves unfolded from behind. That wing was like a sword edge, tearing open the air. An immense beyond compare water morphological creature emerged from the sea. That huge creature was just like an iceberg, its entire body of water form and structure. Its entire body was also transparent, making it possible to see a light-emitting treasure chest inside its stomach. Shockingly, it was a heavenly spirit-grade treasure chest. The water monster roared, spraying out a great expanse of water bullets. A type of unprecedented pressure bore down towards all the cultivators present. When confronting it, there unexpectedly was a kind of choking feeling that made them unable to move, and the prepared great array was immediately forgotten. The water monster's water bullets diffused like a torrential downpour, which turned several dozen cultivators into honeycomb by the attack. It was completely the water figure's immense power it fired that was tyrannical. For ordinary artifacts, defenses completely lacked usefulness. 5th-rank demon beast, Sea Mother, quickly kill it. An elder of the Bo Sea Sword School directed everyone, and more than a dozen galaxy cultivators controlled their sword arts. The watery flying swords synchronized, flashing a dazzling cold light, but the Sea Mother's body was like water. The flying swords pierced through its body without any resistance, not the least bit useful. On the other hand, the Sea Mother released an extremely strange tone. Its water physique violently shot, and more than 1,000 water snakes soared from its surface, just like a blossoming water flower. Afterwards, its tone flattened, turning into a violent tempest like a sharp arrow. This was the first time he confronted this kind of torrential-style oppression. Even the Su Xing hidden far away could feel the heavy pressure pressing on his whole body. Worthy of being the birth outline's final stage, the demon beast transporting the birth outline was increasingly frightful. This Sea Mother was aquatic, so the usual methods were simply completely useless. The Bo Sea Sword School cultivators simultaneously raised their flying swords. A forbid dance of blue splendor opened, like a transparent water screen. Fully aware of the power of this type of torrential arrow storm from the Sea Mother, even if it was a galaxy stage cultivator, they still would not dare directly touch it. The defensive light added onto their bodies caused a majority of the water snakes to die out on contact. However, the defenses were not at all endless. Along with the water snake's degree of concentration, the defensive light was also currently slowly weakening. The Bo Sea Sword School's elder rushed out of the downpour of arrows. The power of the sword light of 15 blue treasure swords made the waves utterly crash, but it was useless. To the Sea Mother, his power alone really held no threat whatsoever. See how the great me will slaughter you. A penetrating and conceited male voice. Su Xing paid attention to that. A nebule middle-stage cultivator appeared in the air. His cultivation could only be said to be ordinary, and to the Sea Mother, he simply did not constitute a threat at all. However, his forehead flashed a faint blue star crest. The light dazzled with the luster of gems. Astonishingly, he was a star master. The Sea Mother took in and sent out an expanse of water snakes that went to attack him. In the robbing and killing of the birth outline, these transport demon beasts often prioritize their hostility on star masters. That man was not at all afraid. Ha ha hey, a loud laugh that seemed to abandon all restraint. A woman's figure flew out from behind him, and that was quite a beautiful woman. Her hair was dark blue, and she wore a blue palace skirt. Particularly eye-catching was the girl's muslin damask on her shoulder, a blue serene to the depths. Talisman script circulated, and a shining star flashed. The girl raised the streamers of her shawl, and countless blue spearheads shot out from within the streamers, possessing even more of an imposing air than the bow sea sword array. After slaying several hundred water snakes, and braving the roaring wind pressure, every one of the bow sea cultivators seized the chance to once again attack. The Sea Mother opened its mouth. It was difficult to imagine that body made from water could release such a tyrannical power, as if it sucked the sea into its chest. A powerful stormy sea immediately made the majority of cultivators terminate their operations. This space already became a hurricane like hell. The movements of all the cultivators began to have difficulty, and these water waves certainly were not the same type of waters as the ocean. Rather, it was a power created from the strong magic energy the Sea Mother used. The demon beast Sea Mother issued a strange low roar. Its body let out a loud sound that ripped eardrums, and suddenly, several dozen shooting stars that dragged a watery spray shot out from its surface, falling from its body. A water shooting star smashed several hundred meters away, the airflow of the attack scraping whole body burns on people. "Young master, be careful," that blue-robed girl sneered. The two individuals really were not ordinary. Glancing at each other with a tacit understanding, they suddenly leapt into the sky and flew towards the Sea Mother. The rays of light from the girl's streamer reached their peak, and that man struck hand seals, each of their star crests shining. Forming a flowing light, Su Xing was very familiar with this scene, knowing at a glance the two were using resonance. "Eat my yellow rank magic, muddy sea breaks the sky." 2. The girl shouted, and the streamers suddenly flew out. In Su Xing's astonished view, he heard a high-pitched dragon's cry resound through the sky. The streamers were like a dragon, and the water of the sea condensed onto its body, its imposing manner especially dreadful. High up in the air, there was a shift in the sky. Already diving downwards at high speed, it formed a frightening tsunami. Even if the attack was very far away, the intense wind pressure already blew Su Xing's hair, leaving it fluttering in the wind. The waves of the sea rolled and folded layer upon layer, blown to the four directions. A severe and sharp whistle shook the eardrums of everyone in the surroundings. Su Xing was stunned, recognizing the history of this streamer. Blue waves heavenly clear damask. 3. The ranked 68th forward star, Cave Emerging Dragon Tong Wei's destined star weapon. It is a magic energy star general. Yen Yizhen's tone was concentrated, her vermilion pupils slightly narrowed. The star generals altogether were divided into the four categories of martial force, magic energy, spirit energy, and martial and magic. 5. Martial force star generals' attacks were strong and fierce, chopping artifacts and breaking magic like paper scraps. So this type of star general was the most dramatic star general in Liangshan continent. Spirit energy star generals, then, were part of every kind of support type. Their own martial power was not too outstanding, but besides erasing star magic, their every other aspect was excellent. Including the wonderfully scheming resourceful star, the miracle cure efficacious star, and even the hiding and escaping into the wind thief star, they were all considered spirit energy type. And magic energy was extremely special. This type of star general was itself weak in martial force, but used a profound skill. The lesser of these skills could overtake sword light, and could be so large as to possibly move mountains. Magic energy star generals had an enormous characteristic that what they used was not an immortal art or magic, but rather star magic, an ability specific to star generals. Even if it was a heavenly star, they would have to somewhat weigh this type of star magic, not daring to directly receive it, thus it could be said like this. Magic energy star generals in some aspect were even more terrifying than martial force star generals. Among the most famous star generals was the leisure star dragon in the clouds. Her profound magic powers were such that even the Jade Qilin needed to be careful. Su Xing had come to Liangshan for so long, yet this was still the very first time he had seen a magic energy star general. The Sea Mother was cut in half by the storm raised over the sea, but its body of water immediately condensed. However, it was smaller than before. The Sea Mother angrily howled, and a huge water spout suddenly appeared. Several dozen cultivators that were the closest were sucked into the tornado, afterwards falling onto fragmented earth. War 6. Careful. In the moment the Star Master saw, a weapon in his hand shot towards the Sea Mother. That dark blue sword shadow swept past a gap on the Sea Mother's body, shuffling to and fro in its attack of a storm, just like an ocean swallow. The light arcs bright as snow cut open a large circle in the sky, suddenly cleaving towards the Sea Mother's non-existent illusory head. The Bow Sea Sword School saw this and gave even more of their all to initiate an assault on the Sea Mother. That blue wave's heavenly clear damask of the cave emerging dragon Tong Hua waved, and the ocean then transformed into an attacking dragon. Its continuous attacks were far more powerful than the cultivator's sword arts by several factors. Every time it struck upon the Sea Mother, it would stir up an immense jolt. Even if the Sea Mother was terrifying, the forward star cave emerging dragon Tong Hua's star magic happened to be used smoothly and easily. Under the 100 cultivators' constant assault, the Sea Mother finally could not support itself. Its body was increasingly small, broken and dispersed, a rain falling in a range of several dozen li. The heavenly spirit grade treasure chest then fell out. Huar, we have succeeded, huh? The Star Master laughed loudly. The Bow Sea Sword School was briefly ecstatic. This still was the first time they had plundered this heavenly spirit grade treasure chest. Tong Hua's face carried a disdainful smile. Just at this time, she suddenly shouted, "You sneak, still not coming out. Did you really think that you could fool me, the cave emerging dragon, on the seas? How laughable!" The Bow Sea Sword School's 100 cultivators entered an alert state. Su Xing secretly admired this. She deserved to be called a magic energy star general, for she possessed an even greater sensitivity towards the fluctuations in star energy. Su Xing had believed that the cave emerging dragon Tong Hua had discovered him. Just as he was about to appear, he suddenly discovered that things were not too favorable for him. All of the Bow Sea Sword School's cultivators faced formidable enemy, where even the forward star Tong Hua wore a grim expression. Their guard was actually directed in a different direction. Black smoke condensed in the air, and when it condensed, it again dispersed, from which a figure slowly appeared. The newcomer was draped in a black cloak, wore black armor, an imposing appearance. His appearance was demonic, and his expression had a kind of sharpness that tore into people's hearts. Su Xing could not help but stare blankly when he saw his appearance. A Galaxy Middle Stage Star Master? That Star Master they once briefly encountered at the Divining Star platform. Su Xing never thought that he would unexpectedly appear here. And seeing his body techniques were abnormally ghostly, he unexpectedly could not sense it. Devil Smoke Shapeshifting. You are a disciple of the Black Turtle Territory's devil cults. The eyesight of the Bow Sea Sword School's elder was sharp, breaking through the magic the opponent used with a glance. His complexion was pale, for he could not help but be stunned. The Devil Smoke Shapeshifting escape technique was an extremely incredible concealment escape technique. This type of escape technique necessarily made the cultivator's mind pass through the tempering and refinement of 18 hells to begin. Ordinary cultivators simply were incapable of mastering it, and the cultivator that could execute the Devil Smoke Shapeshifting would undoubtedly be a frightening character. The Bo Si Sword School elder was astonished some. The young man before him was just 25, 26, but the devil smoke shape-shifting unexpectedly was somewhat matured. He feared that of the 18 layers of hell, at least 10 layers had been passed. A kind of unprecedented pressure made the elder's forehead flow with cold sweat. You surprisingly know, so you have some eyesight? The Holy Lord of Draconic Demons' lips flashed a loathing smile. Since your highness is of the Black Turtle territory and is capable of the devil smoke transforming shape escape, it may be assumed you are a man of the heavenly underworld sects. 2. The Bo Si Sword sect has already revered the Black Turtle territory's #1 sect, the heavenly underworld sect, for a long time, not at all hostile. The elder's voice carried a trace of deference. This made Su Xing feel rather flabbergasted. Intruded upon in their own Bo Si, they actually showed such meekness. This heavenly underworld sect's influence was not small. Su Xing watched this star master whose cultivation was unexpectedly galaxy middle stage, fearing that he was not simple. Your eloquence makes it sound so pleasant. This Holy Lord actually cannot make things hard for you? The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon loudly laughed, an attitude of entreating lower people. How about this? The heavenly spirit chest belongs to this Holy Lord, and this Holy Lord will let go of that forward star. Disciple of the devil cults, cease your ravings. Calling yourself some Holy Lord, I see that you are merely of a generation that is impressively posturing yet lacks substance. Elder, speaking on such good terms with this devil cult person, these devil disciples that do not know the immensity of heaven and earth, within the range of influence of this school, the sea is this savage. It truly is unknown whether one will live or die. The Bo Si Sword School's disciples' angered voices sprung up all around, already unable to bear looking at this Holy Lord of Draconic Demons' arrogant manner any further. The Bo Si was the Bo Si Sword School's sphere of influence. If they were intruded upon by an outsider and made to so submissively present the birthday outline chest to him, if word got out, the Bo Si Sword School could not show its face thereafter. The elder had a trace of indignation, lowering his voice. This Taoist deeply respects the underworld heaven sect master of the heavenly underworld sect. Your highness is rather too arrogant among this Bo Si Sword School. You want to profit from us in front of I, the cave emerging dragon. You truly are dreaming. Tong Hua coldly shouted, already resentful of the man before her. Her hand gestured, and the blue-waved heavenly clear damask rolled up. The sea waters gathered, and under her reaction, they were already like a released dragon. The ocean surged, the waves overflowed, and a sea beast formed of water took shape. Astonishingly, it was about the same as the sea mother just now. Relying on the soul of the recently perished sea mother, the forward star turned it into a terrible demon beast that was no different. Su Xing secretly praised her, for this magic energy star general was remarkable as expected. With the sea mother keeping watch, all the disciples believed their forces had multiplied. Is the cave emerging dragon so amazing? The Holy Lord of Draconic Demons sneered. Yet how does she compare to the river dragon? 3. What? Everyone was stunned. Suddenly, they saw a dark blue star crest flash on his forehead, and a gorgeous and enchanting girl astonishingly appeared. Star General? Star Master? A galaxy middle stage Star Master. These cultivators' amazement had not yet finished. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demons' forehead once again was overlaid with a black sigil, and another dark shadow emerged. The gloomy girl wearing a black dragon armor jacket appeared to the side of the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. Her expression was strangely cold, a black fright. Young master, what nonsense is there for these trash? Ah. 2 star generals. How is this possible? How can he have 2 star generals? Everyone immediately was somewhat flustered. 1 star general was sufficient to make them seemingly overlook a great enemy, but 2 star generals already frightened the souls from their bodies. This sort of thing was rarely seen in Liangshan. 2 star generals? Yen Yizhen's tone concentrated. Su Xing was grim, treating this man from the Black Turtle territory even more severely. Kill! Tong Hua shouted. The entirety of the Sea Mother twisted, and a pair of sea wings majestic beyond compare unfolded from its water body. That blade-like wing ripped apart the tranquil ocean, sending a watery mist galloping over the sea. As far as the eye could see, the entire ocean shuddered under this attack of the Sea Mother demon beast, lamenting. The unstoppable gale blew a tsunami of a frantic attack, and like a mountain, the tremendous Sea Mother entrenched itself above the sea like this, bellowing. A rumbling like a thunder roll. Countless waterspouts once again bubbled up on the sea. More than 1,000 water snakes broke away and pounced forth from the surface of its wings. They scuttled across the sky like fireworks, then simultaneously turned around, shooting directly towards the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon like a storm of arrows. Facing a heavy rain of water snakes that filled the whole sky pouncing towards him from above, for a split second, a hint of despair could be sensed. The other cultivators were also without the slightest hesitation. 100 flying swords split the seas against the waves, attacking. Xiangfei, allow this little sister to know that a dragon is only a dragon in the end. 5. In front of a dragon. 6. It will savagely leave the stage. The black-armored girl smiled demonically. That beautiful and splendid girl's hand gripped a dragon-carving sword. The sword turned into a lance, immediately slashing downwards. In the blink of an eye, a tsunami rocketed with a quake, forming a 100-zhang-tall wall that intercepted the flying swords and the Sea Mother's attack. The young girl immediately afterwards waved the carved dragon lance, reading an incantation. A white dragon seemingly came to life and dove underwater, forming white waves that turned into a whirlpool on the water's surface. A booming sound. An immense dragon rushed out of the water. White Knight Dragon Carving Lance. It's the Longevity Star River Dragon Li Jun. 7. Everyone involuntarily cried. The previously icily arrogant forward star Tong Hua's expression was like ash. The Longevity Star River Dragon was the #1 naval force among the 108 Maiden Mountain Sisters. The 26th ranked Longevity Star River Dragon Li Jun could be rated as abnormal, especially in naval combat. Her star magic was terrifying. Even if it was the strongest military strength star general, they would not have the confidence to fight the Longevity Star on the water and win. On the sea, the river dragon was an ocean-turning divine dragon. Cave-emerging dragon? River-churning clam? How could a dragon ate and clam have the qualifications to be mentioned in the same sentence as a dragon? 9. On the seas, the river dragon was exactly genuinely without equal. The huge sea dragon soared high into the air. Its mouth spat out several dozen fine yet incomparably dazzling white lines. With those wandering everywhere below, the blind attack was completely different from the water waves. These rays of light streaked a dazzling trajectory in the sky, and a penetrating and roaring tsunami and gorgeous flying sword directly shot towards everyone. The flying sword disintegrated. The Sea Mother was extinguished. Wherever this white line passed, the seawater seemingly was torn apart. The cultivators simply were too late to react, and neither did they have any room to resist. Young master. Tong Hua's expression greatly changed. Ah! A blood-curdling scream, and the forward star's young master directly was pierced through the chest, dying just like this. Tong Hua's mouth spat fresh blood, her vitality greatly injured. With irrepressible anger in her eyes, she actually flipped up the blue wave's heavenly clear damask. River Dragon Li Jun, you are the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. Everyone competed for a path in a fluster. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon recently defeated the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 star master Xie Zhenyuan. How would these people dare firmly fight when they had this name? Run quickly. The Bo Sea Sword School elder loudly shouted, raising a sword light and dodging. Run, what delusion do you speak of? The young girl wearing a Demon King's gloom blocked in front of him. A cold light fully appeared in her hand, and the elders urged his sword to block it, but in such a close range, being closed in on by a star general was simply like a nightmare. 2 talons of twinkling black stars completely lacked suspense in breaking open whatever defense he had. By the time the Bo Sea Sword School elder felt it, His heart was already held in that girl's sharp talons, still beating with a thump-thump. "You monster," the old man grieved. It was torn to shreds by the girl's claw, and she sneered, "I like this sort of praise." She turned her head. She saw that the forward star Tonghua was still going all out in her resistance. The blue wave's heavenly clear damask rolled out every sort of star magic. The sky was filled with water swords, tsunamis endlessly swept, but under the eyes of the river dragon Li Jun, they could not withstand a single blow. The river dragon Li Xiangfei brandished the white night dragon carving lance. The sea dragon became larger and pounced at Tonghua. Tonghua blocked with both her hands. The huge sea dragon in no time engulfed her. A single blue streamer floated all alone. The river dragon Li Jun's star magic sea dragon was like a monster, unstoppable as it exterminated the majority of the star cultivators. The water sword the Bow Sea Sword School star cultivators cultivated naturally was incredible, especially since they were within the range of the Bow Sea. Some star cultivators that broke away from the sea dragon's attack wanted to escape, but the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon coldly smiled. How could he let these people go? 8 immense black banners rose, shrouding them in a clump of black fog, forming an immense forbid dance that made everyone have no door to hell and no road to heaven. Sacrifice yourselves to this Holy Lord's devil sword. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon coldly chuckled. A black devil sword like a specter wreaked havoc, with continuous blood-curdling screams sounding inside the great array. Just when he raised the black forbid dance banners, the Su Xing watching the battle from the sidelines suddenly felt that this was not too encouraging, not good. Su Xing immediately used an innate Bagua escape technique, his figure escaping out from its corner. It was by a lucky coincidence. Suddenly, an emerging specter burst out from the place he was hiding in. The devil sword that did not taste essence blood howled in grief. Su Xing's unexpected appearance also made the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon and his 2-star generals very surprised. Incredible, incredible. If it was not for this Holy Lord's underworld prison banner that can sense the presences of everything around, this Holy Lord unexpectedly would not have discovered a person hiding in a dark place. The Holy Lord of Draconic Demon's eyes let off light. "It's you, that one that seized the purple star great outlaw writ?" 11. Su Xing was fully aware of the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon's abnormal might. Immediately shouting, "Blooming water divine thunder" boomed over. Su Xing's figure flashed, rushing towards that heavenly spirit-grade chest and that streamer that was yet to be taken by the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon. At the present moment, he could only exhaust everything he could possibly think of. The river dragon Li Jun waved the white night dragon carving lance, and the sea dragon blocked the blooming water divine thunder. However, this divine thunder's awesome power made Li Jun greatly shocked. The sea dragon scattered with a boom, unexpectedly dispersing. "No way you are grabbing that." The black dragon armor girl sneered, her sharp claws grabbing at Su Xing. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.